Hello, everybody, and welcome yourselves to the first ever live ECC podcast here, the special edition to commemorate the end of League Play. Of course, my name is Faded, and joining me here for the podcast is going to be the regular people, Dennis and KursedWolf. How are you both doing today?
I'm doing great. Dennis, how about you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing really great. Really excited for this first ever live podcast here in ECC. And of course, we've done some podcasts before. And, a live podcast is still something, it's something special. You can't, edit it afterwards. And, it has some more feeling with the chat as well. So I'm really excited to do this ECC podcast.
Yeah, we will be reading the chat as well. So any comments you have, and we will be asking you questions. So, for example, we'll be giving you getting your thoughts on the predictions on how playoffs will go and how you think the tables should look like. But yeah, we'll quickly shout out Amateur Esports Zone, a great place where they just promote games, organizations within them. So I know, for example, we have our very own Ascension Jez. Jez, say hi. Wait for 10 seconds. But yeah, he himself has had an interview interviewed by Geordie, also known as GIF, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's had an interview on Amateur Esports Zone on his league play in ECC. There he goes. He says hi.
There we go.
Welcome in the chat, Jez.
Yep, so check that out, and of course we have to plug the ECC itself as well, of course.
What's the point otherwise? What's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? So of course, for any of you here that don't know what the ECC is, of course we're a European-based tournament organisation. We run this league throughout the year, and of course we just finished the Season 5 regular season, and we're going into playoffs. Tomorrow actually is going to be the first playoff match day with the Division 4 playoffs, and we will get on to what we think of the playoffs later on in the podcast. But of course, Season 6 will be coming up, I believe, sometime next month. So if you guys are interested in potentially playing next season, then you, of course, you can go to the Discord. And it will if Nightbot works, it did work earlier actually, this Discord link there, or just look below the stream. You can find that. And yeah, we'll have announcements of when the next season will be coming up, and you can get to play games every single week. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, it's going to be good fun for all of us here.
Yeah, it will. I think we just need to start off with league play. This is going to be a long road ahead of us. We have 4 weeks to go through.
God damn it.
Do we want to counter on how many slip-ups we're going to make or how many breaks?
There's going to be plenty of them actually, because we've got like no post-production to save us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of clips going out from this stream. We can make the quite the blooper reel after this is done.
I don't want to disrespect the last person we had, but Ashtax, I do have that recording still of that blooper. Do we shove that at the end?
Yeah, in all of its glory, we'll get to see that.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get started. I think with first off, we'll go into Division 4. For starters, we'll go through all the weeks for Division 4. So this is the lowest division in the ECC system, and we'll begin with with week 6 here. We've got our first match here. It is, of course, FC Nickoe and NG Saffron, and that was a 3-1 win for NG Saffron. And considering the standings, I'm just sitting here and thinking, yeah, absolutely no surprises there. So what do you both think about that?
Well, I think, I've seen that they didn't have the season they wanted to have. Their last place in the end, and NG Saffron, they've played pretty good in Division 4. They're a pretty solid team in Division 4. I've seen them play as well. And, I think NG Saffron, yeah, it's a predictable winner for NG Saffron. And, yeah, good job to them.
Yeah, indeed. Noble Gaming Saffron did get this 3-1 win. FC Nickoe, like you said, they're bottom of the table. So there's no real surprise there, and good job to Saffron in the week 6. Moving on, we have Irrelevant Esports Orange against Ascension Helios getting a 3-0. Does that surprise either of you?
Well, Not necessarily, because to be honest, if we look at how ILV Orange ended their season, they went 9-0, only dropping 4 individual games throughout the season. That's right, 4. They have a whopping plus 23 game differential. As for Ascension Helios, they ended up 6th overall with a 4-5 record. So honestly, not too surprising there. Of course, Ascension Helios, they're like a middle of the pack team. ILV Orange showing they are probably the best team in the entire division. In fact, not even probably, most definitely the best team. So ILV Orange, they proved their consistency throughout the season. They proved they can beat anyone and everyone in their division. It was no problem for them. So it's very well done though for them to get that 3-0 win. Really helped them here, and they've put themselves in the best possible position. So well done to them.
Yeah, I think, RV Orange, they've been playing pretty good, and I remember that I casted this game on my own channel, and, Ascension Helios, they got pressured by RV Orange pretty much, and I remember also one of them had a connection issues mid-game, so that didn't really work out for Ascension Helios. So in the end, RV Orange, as you said, they are 9-0 in the league, and very well done to them. Ascension Helios, unfortunately for them, 6th place, not a playoff spot for them. RV Orange really contended to win this World Division 4 in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, a quick shout out to Ascension Helios. I think next season, if they hang around, they'll definitely have a good shot for playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For sure.
Yeah. Shall we move on to the next game, being MGSTKs? I read that right. Good job, me. Against Honk Esports. Wait, did you just doubt me or what?
No, I didn't. I was thinking because every time we try to pronounce it, it's so awkward. Because I don't know what on earth that name is.
You get slower and slower for the first 3 letters, and as soon as you hit TKS, you're like, oh, thank the Lord.
Yeah.
They got a 3-0 against Honk Esports. For me, that's not too surprising. I'm not entirely sure if this is a what's it called game. It's not a forfeit or whatever. I just know that there's some issues for the captain of Honk Esports, and I don't know if we made any of the games affected because of it.
No, we didn't. I don't think.
Well then,
honestly,
needless to say, MGK. No, I've already called him MGK.
MGK. Oh my god.
Yes, Machine Gun Kelly against Honk Esports got a 3-0 easily. Does that surprise you, Dennis? The fact that MGSTK's got the 3-0?
Not really, Honk Esports just like that needs they are very low on the table. Honk Esports are in 9th place, and MGSTKs, they just secured playoff spot in Division 4, being 4th place, and well done by them. And 3-0, it's not they've predicted that before, that they would win against Honk Esports with 3-0. It's a result MGSTKs needed to have. This name, okay, I hope if we see MGSTKs next season as well, that they have another name, because if we do podcasts again with this team name, it's going
I'm going to rename them.
Yeah, like we'll say you're not using that name.
They just rolled a dice and see what letters they could get and just chucked them together. That's how that works.
When you think it's like a Spanish name of some kind, because I think they're a Spanish team.
I can have a quick check.
If I remember correctly, they are a Spanish team, but still.
Quickly scroll to the top.
How do you come up with that?
They are indeed. Yes, they are. Oh no.
Yes, boys. But yeah, not really surprising, to be honest, because I think MGSTKs, they came in 4th. Contending fairly well with some of the teams up there. Whereas Honk Esports, they're like right down at the bottom. They forfeit 3 games, which is a bit shocking. But when I did see them play, they weren't exactly convincing. Especially because I think they had like a gold or plat player on the team. Like, what? Why?
Wait, pardon? Who forfeited 3 games?
It was Honk Esports.
Timmy?
We have an issue here.
If I'm not mistaken, 3 forfeits and you're disqualified.
Well, okay, let's just ignore that for now. We'll not question. I just noticed that. Like, wait a minute, they have 3 forfeits. Why are they here?
Unless it's get 3 forfeits and then your next forfeit is you disqualified, but I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure it's always been 3 forfeits and you're done. It's the way it's worked in every other team. Why is there an exception here?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yes, boys. Alright, I think enough talk about that game. Next match. Alright, next game we have RC Pluto against X2 Esports, where X2 Esports got themselves a 3-2 victory. Now, just seeing when these teams play, so X2 Esports are in 7th as of today, and RC Pluto with a 3rd place finish. So, I guess that could be considered a little bit of an upset, considering how X2 Esports have done this season. I mean, to be fair, they had 2 forfeits, and who's to say how those matches could have went? But even still, I think that was an upset. I would expect the Rocket Core side to be taking that one. But what do you guys think? Do you think similar?
Yeah, I definitely think RC Pluto should have got that game. Looking at the league table, if they had won, it wouldn't have made a whole lot of a difference because they would have still gone against NG Saffron. But yeah, X2 Esports, in my opinion, were the lower team the less expected team to win that. So yeah, for me it's an upset. Dennis?
Yeah, it's a pretty upset. Rocket Core Pluto, eventually they had to get into Game 5 to secure their win. And, in the end, they still secured 3rd place, and also they won against X2 Esports. But against X2 Esports, I would say a 3-1 for RC Pluto, maybe a 3-0 would be predictable for them. But nonetheless, a 3-2 is the result here between RC Pluto and X2 Esports. And in the end, X2 Esports, they play pretty good. In the end, 7th place. This was their 4th win. Unfortunately for them, they also got 2 forfeits. But in the end, they placed themselves as 7th. And RC Pluto, they could afford this lose, and they still end up in 3rd place. So well done to RC Pluto still. But X2 Esports, they played well against RC Pluto 3-2. It's quite an upset, but well done by X2 Esports.
Yeah, indeed.
Big up Windows for
yes, thank you Windows for doing that to me yet again. I think I could probably count the number of times there's been a Windows notification of some time every time I've been streaming ECC games. It has happened every single time. It has happened again. Wait, what was this one for? Oh, it was from Google Chrome. Thanks very much. God, Google Chrome. But anyways, I think we'll move on to our next game. And this one, we have Breakdown Krypton against DSEA Orange. And just take a look at where these two teams are. Breakdown Krypton just missing out on the playoffs. They came in 5th place, right behind MGSTKs. And then DSEA Orange at 8th. But just judging by that, I wouldn't think this would go all the way to Game 5, to be honest. I would think it would be a more comfortable win for Breakdown. But yeah, still, what do you guys think about that? Closer than expected, but still Breakdown managed to come out with the win in the end.
Yeah, I think Breakdown definitely should have got that win, which they did. And DSEA Orange being in the place that they are shouldn't have gotten so close to winning that and pushing them into Game 5. But again, Breakdown Krypton coming in clutch, showing that they are the better team and securing that the series.
Yeah, Breakdown Krypton, good win for them, but 3-2 is pretty close still. And in the end, DSEA Orange ended up in 8th place. Not a good season for them, unfortunately. But yeah, Breakdown Krypton, unfortunately for them, just missing out on playoffs. So for both of these teams, an unfortunate season. But Breakdown Krypton, congratulations for them. And that's the end of Week 6 of Division 4.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now the question is, do we go to Week 7 of Division 4 or do we move up a division?
Yeah. I would say Week 7 of Division 4, just completing Division 4.
Yeah, let's just get it all out of the way, all in one go. I think.
I was thinking we could be nice and stop talking about the same 10 teams for a good 30 minutes, but
yeah, okay.
Depends what everyone else wants to listen to. If they want to.
Yeah, we can actually ask it at the chat now.
Yeah, ask chat. Do you want to hear about a different division, or do you want? Are you guys not sick of Div 4 yet? Let's see what the audience thinks. Because if you guys want to, we could break what we usually do and just go up a division at Division 3 and then just do it that way. Or we could just do it division by division. Yeah, Nickoe. Yeah, different div.
Different div. All right.
Different div it is.
Different division it is.
Right, let's hop up over to Division 3 now. So let's begin. Actually, before we get into it, I'm gonna get the Division 3 standings up just so I know who I'm talking about. This one should be a lot more interesting, I think. So let's head on over to.
I'm sorry, I have 2 drinks here with me.
Oh
this
my
is the first
God.
one I'm opening.
Oh jeez. Let's go, boys.
Quick thank you to Alpha Hewick and Tia. You know what? Never mind.
Just shut up.
He's got a tier 2 subscription to the ECC.
Tier 2, let's go.
New Year. For 3 months.
Big shout out to
Yuri,
you.
I'm disappointed.
Yes, right.
Division 3, Week 6.
Alright, so here we go. The first game we have Team Nitro Omega, who are a replacement team against Mystic Gaming, also a replacement team, I believe. That was a 3-0 to Team Nitro Omega. Team Nitro Omega, they are all the way up at 3rd, and Mystic Gaming, bottom of the barrel, 8th place. And so yeah, one of the playoff teams was Team Nitro Omega showing... I was actually expecting them when they came into the season. I was thinking they could be a playoff contender, and look where they are. Yeah. They're in the top 4. Whereas
Mystic no need to rub it in.
Yeah. Alright. I'm just saying intellectual. But Mystic Gaming all the way back down in 8th in the relegation playoffs. So they're actually going to be having to fight against the Div 4 teams to stay in Div 3. So yeah. So opposite sides of the spectrum basically here. So what do you guys think about that match? I would say it was expected result.
Yeah,
to be honest.
no questions asked. Team Nitro Omega should have won. They did very, very comfortably with a 3-0, and Mystic Gaming really struggling to overcome it.
Yeah, Team Nitro Omega. I've played against these guys, and they were really good. Like grand champs, and really good. Really good team in Division 3. Yeah, this is a very hard team to beat, and especially Mystic Gaming down in 8th place. They have a struggle against Team Nitro Omega, and the result also shows that with a 3-0 win to Nitro Omega. So Team Nitro Omega, they played well in this match, and Mystic Gaming, it's not a shame they lost there against Nitro Omega, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So now we'll move on to our next match. Of course, Wolf, you can have a little bit of a chat about this one yourself. It is Snakebite against No Hope Crimson.
Frantically scrolls up through the game times to find out who played. Found it.
Yeah, so Snakebite and No Hope Crimson, of course, is Wolf's own team here. Of course, you guys finished just shy of the playoffs, sadly, in 5th place, but you went and absolutely smacked around No Hope Crimson. They're the team that went 0-9 in Division 3, so they are automatically relegated. Yes.
Oh, God.
So they're automatically relegated down. So still, with how strong the Snakebite team is, I would have expected you guys to win it either way. So, Wolf, I'm presuming you actually played in that match.
Yeah, me, Yui, and Timmy all played that game.
Yeah, so how do you think that match went for you guys overall?
It was alright. I definitely think we were a bit shaky to start with, seeing as they took a game off us. I'm pretty sure that was the 2nd or 1st game. It was definitely towards the start of the series. But after that, we fixed ourselves, and I think we had a game 3 overtime, something along the lines, and just secured the 4th game, giving us the 3-1. They were a very tough team to say that they did go 0-9. I think it's the fact that they're just not clinical enough to score themselves all the goals that they need to win the games. And I think that's just definitely something they need to improve on for next season.
Yeah, and they'll be playing in Division 4 next season, mind you. So they're up against lesser opposition, but if they do decide to stick around, hopefully they can climb their way back into Division 3 for the 6th season. So we'll see how Season 5 goes for them. But enough chat about that. We'll now go on to Darklight Esports against Royals. Of course, Darklight Esports coming 4th at the end of the season, Royals at 6th. I've seen both these teams play before. Darklight Esports definitely very solid side, whereas Royals not as strong as I would hope to see them. And to be honest, seeing a 3-1 victory for Darklight Esports, nothing out of the ordinary. So Dennis, what do you think about that one?
I mean, expectable result. Darklight Esports 3-1 over Royals, and Darklight Esports in the end ending up in 4th place, and Royals ending up in 6th place is deserved, I would say. Royals they should be like at the lower half awful, but still not just all the way at the bottom. But 6th is pretty good for them, and I'd like esports. They deserve a playoff spot. They're a pretty solid side, tough side to beat in Division 3, and definitely also a contender for for winning playoffs. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Darklight Esports, I did play both these teams. Yeah, I know I played Darklight Esports. I can't quite can't quite remember if I played Royals. But Darklight Esports are definitely a very strong team. And in my opinion, they definitely deserve that 3-1 win. Maybe it should have been a closer game. I would say so. I'm not quite sure as to what the scoreline were for each game. But yeah, we'll swiftly now move on to Ascension versus Galimo Delta. Said that one right as well. Good job.
Yes.
Ascension getting the 3-0 sweep. Not surprising at all, really, seeing as they almost, and I mean almost, went on a 9-0 streak.
Yeah,
Yes.
almost a 9-0 streak. And my food's ready, actually, so I'll have to go head for a second. But I'll finish off this last segment, and then I'll leave these to keep on discussing whilst I shove food down my throat. But as for Ascension against Galimo Delta, Ascension #1 in this season, just beating out Ascension Chronos by a couple games here in terms of game differential. So very well done by the Ascension side. But Galimo Delta, way down there, honestly, a 3-0 victory. It's what I would expect out of Ascension. A very strong team, heavy contenders to promote into Division 2, in my opinion. So honestly, nothing out of the ordinary. So yeah, I'll be back later for the stream. I'll leave you guys with these two. So I hope to return fairly soon.
Yeah, 3-0 to Ascension, to my team as well. I just joined Ascension in when they played at Galimo Delta, and I haven't been playing in this in Ascension with against Galimo Delta, but we're really happy to see they won that game 3-0. So yeah, good result to Ascension, and unfortunately we couldn't make the 9-0 dream, but in the end we still finished up at the top of the table, Division 3, so we're really happy with that. So I think it's time to hop over to the next game, Ascension Chronos against Deddi Celeritas. So what do you think of that, Wolf?
Looking at the rankings, Gedalian Celeritas. Yeah, I don't know why I read that as if it was a rhyme or something. That really struggled with my brain. They came 9th, and so they'll be fighting for relegation. And Ascension Chronos got themselves 2nd. And so for me, it's not a surprising result at all, the fact that they managed to get an easy 3-0 sweep. I know Ascension Chronos are a really strong team. And for Celeritas, they were at the start of the season, because I remember that we'd lost to them. However, in the end, it just depends on playstyle and everything else that comes along with each individual player. So Chronos managed to secure themselves that 3-0 win comfortably, I'd say.
Yeah, comfortable win for Ascension Chronos. After the transfer of Jess, I think, Ascension Chronos really just... I think they won every game since Jess joined, so that's a really good impulse.
When did Jess join again?
I think it was like at this...
It was after they played us, and I'm trying to find out when that is. That must have been week 5. Yeah, week 5. So he did join in week 6.
And I think they've won every game after, so yeah, that's really well done. Putting themselves in 2nd place behind the main Ascension team. So yeah, that's really well done by Ascension Chronos. So well done by by the playoff contenders here in Division 3. Ascension Chronos, Nitro Omega, and Darklight Esports.
Indeed. Pre said the Jazz transfer is the transfer of the century. It's the transfer of the decade. Now we just got to work out if it's the transfer for this decade. Yeah, he really didn't want to play Snakebite. Yeah, Jez, we see you trying to dodge us.
Yeah.
Right? No need to hide it. But yeah, I do want to bring up the fact of the Honky Sports triple forfeit. That 3rd forfeit was in the last week, but in terms of how we're going to sort that will be decided by us after this, hopefully. But yeah, it does make an impact on later, or no, sorry, not later, but the playoff standings.
Yes.
So we should
just
move
keep
on
going on division.
Yep, next division.
Yeah. Next division, Division 2.
Division 2, week 6. Let's grab that real quick. And we start off with Radiant Esports against Misfits. Misfits in 9th. Radiant Esports qualifying, getting playoff spot in week. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, this is why it's a struggle to do a live podcast, ladies and gentlemen. No. This is why it's a struggle.
See, I'd have cut this out like twice. We'd have probably restarted since like 2 different divisions ago because of how bad this has gone. But yeah, Radiant getting seed 4. We've moved on to Division 2, and Radiant getting the 3-1 win. Dennis, does this surprise you at all?
No, that doesn't surprise me. Still, Misfits surprised me this season, though, ending up in 9th place, and they were top seed of the league. But that just shows that MMR is not everything, and even though you got maybe the team or of the division, I would say.
I just want to say you cut out there for me. I'm not sure if it picked up on stream as well.
Okay, then I'm going to say it again.
Yeah,
so Misfits, they are top seed of the league, of Division 2, and in the end, they're one of the highest MMRs of the division, but in the end, they still end up in 9th place, which is really a shame for them and not expectable at the start of the season. So that's something to worry about with Misfits. They have to play themselves in Division 2 in the promotion relegation match, but Radiant Esports, they were solid, and we already knew that at the start of the season. They have a pretty solid lineup with Kersey, TomTom, and Chaz. So securing themselves playoff spot really well done by Radiant and Misfits. We actually expected them to play better, but it did not happen in Division 2. So well played to Radiant.
Indeed. We'll now move on to Noble Gaming Cobalt against Irrelevant Esports Black. Noble Gaming Cobalt getting the 3-1. To me, this is slightly surprising as Irrelevant Esports Black won 7 out of their 9 games and came second, and Cobalt managed to just scrape 5th on a neutral game difference. Sorry, but same amount of wins as Radiant Esports. So for me, this is slightly surprising, but I can definitely see it happening. The fact that Cobalt got that, because it's just edging them ever so slightly each game. Dennis, how do you feel on this?
Yeah, I think that NG Cobalt really played well against LV Black. Unexpected result, but LV Black, they've played pretty solid this season. 2nd place for them, 7 out of their 9 matches they've won. So well played by them. And NG Cobalt just missing out on playoffs by 3 game differential. So that's really unfortunate for them. But in the end, NG Cobalt, they've done not that bad in this division in this season. So unfortunate for them, but congratulations for LV Black ending up in 2nd place of Division 2, taking on No Hope Esports in the playoffs. So looking forward to that one.
Indeed, and quickly, the fact that Faded is eating makes our lives slightly easier because it now means we don't have more of us talking, slowly cutting down the time, and then everyone gets the interviews that they want. I'm questioning as to whether when we put those in, but the problem is all 4 interviewees will be on the same screen, so you'll get to see the guests rather than any special guests, and they won't be surprises, which everyone loves surprises, right? Dennis, do you like surprises?
Wait, what did you say? Sorry?
Do you like surprises, Dennis?
What?
Okay, anyway. Blitz, we will be going through each division each week slowly in each division. So currently we're on Division 2, Week 6. We will continue to the next game before everyone just calls me cringe and the rest. We have No Hope Sapphire against Esports Legends. Do we really have much to say about this? It's not really a surprise.
Actually, Esports Legends got a game from this series, so that's well done by them. And they only got 3 games in this world division from 9 series. They only got 3 games, so well done to Esports Legends to at least get a game from this series. You have to say.
Yeah. No Hope Sapphire definitely deserving that win. Esports Legends taking a game off of them, but they do land 10th, and No Hope Sapphire getting 8th. So it was a close game in terms of where they position on the league table, as both teams are now, one of them is fighting for the relegation and the other will be auto-relegated if they continue into the next season. So yeah, in terms of those aspects, it's a close game, but in terms of the players that we know who are on each team, it's not surprising that No Hope Sapphire got that win. Moving on to the next game, we have No Hope Esports against Clap Pink, a very close one, going 3-2 to No Hope Esports. Dennis, how do you think this went?
Well, yeah, a really close game. No Hope Esports and Clap Pink. In the end, No Hope Esports ending up in third place. It's actually a more closer game than I would have expected before, because Clap Pink, I think at the time they played against each other, Clap Pink was in 9th place, 8th place maybe, even more, even lower than they are ended. So yeah, interesting to see that it still went to a game 5. In the end, No Hope Esports, they won the series in game 5. So yeah, well done by No Hope Esports.
Yeah.
And
moving on to the next series, we have Ascension Pyrrhos against DSEA Red. A comfortable 3-1, I'd say, by Ascension Pyrrhos. No real, no sweat has been broken, as they came first in the league table, and I'm trying to find DSEA Red. They came 6th, and so the fact that they took a game off them is commemorable, seeing as Ascension Pyrrhos went on to come first in the league table. But yeah, again, this is a very expected and comfortable win, in my opinion. Dennis?
yeah, Ascension Pyrrhos, they were one of the favorites in Division 2 before, and then yeah, well done to Ascension Pyrrhos, ending up in first place. And the DSEA Red, maybe they have another shot next season in Division 2. Hopefully for them, they can put out a better result. Maybe making playoffs. We'll see next season. But yeah, well done to Ascension Pyrrhos, also taking this series with 3-1 of DSEA Red.
Indeed. Hype said no, he wasn't a favorite. I'm very confused now. Who wasn't the favorite, Dennis?
Well,
who was the favorite? Sorry.
At the start of the season, I expected either
Radiant. They were seeded 9th, and Ascension Pyrrhos were predicted really low on the table.
I mean, looking at the lineup, to be fair, I think that Hype, Troxy, and Ferris, it isn't a bad lineup at all.
Oh yeah, not at all. But at the start of the season, when people don't really know how well everyone can play, it's quite surprising to see them come first. But after you know the teams, it just kind of becomes second nature seeing them come first. You just expect it. We will, however, now go on to Division 1, Week 6, if I can grab it all up in time. We start off with Polar Ace against 1, 2, 3. Now I'm resisting myself with a pun, because they have the best name to just alley-oop me. They lost 3-0. 1, 2, 3 lost 3-0 against Polar Ace. Is this at all surprising to you, Polar Ace, Dennis?
Well, not really. Actually, it does. It's not 1, 2, 3 was winning here, but 3-0 to Polar Ace. It's actually, surprising, as seeing 1, 2, 3 won. Won the whole league here, Division 1 first place. So Polar Ace, a good win from them. A sweep over 1, 2, 3, which is not really expected, but 1, 2, 3. In the end, they still secured playoffs. First place. I don't know. Maybe this is actually forfeit, because 1, 2, 3 actually forfeited one series. And seeing
I think we would have had it registered down as a forfeit. So.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Then it's just a forfeit for 1, 2, 3, and I don't think we need to talk about anymore about the series.
Yeah. Moving on to the next series, we have the Salt Shakers go 3-0 against Irrelevant Esports main roster. Salt Shakers managed to place themselves 3rd, and Irrelevant Esports came 5th, just missing out on game difference 2, but to be specific, which is very, very close. Yeah. If this series had gone the other way, they would have made it. Let's just say that. So,
then they would have made it, and Irrelevant Esports were really unlucky. But if you look at the standings of Division 1, so many teams finished up on 5 points. Like the 3rd place, 4th place, 5th place, 6th place, and even 7th place. ended up on 5 points. So just the game differential just made it up between the 3rd place and the 7th place, and that's really a close table here we're seeing here. And the Salt Shake is really important to win here, because in this division, really every win counted, and especially this one, the Salt Shake is 3-0 over Relevant Esports. It's a great result for them.
Indeed. Now we move on to Untouchables against Help Me Please. And Untouchables went 3-2 against them. They were 9th, however, which is Untouchables is that. So that's quite surprising to me. And Help Me Please getting 7th, just missing out on relegation. Does this surprise you? I mean, Untouchables are in relegation spot. They may have a good team. I haven't been able to check the team sheet. But Help Me Please definitely do have a strong roster, and coming 7th and then losing to Untouchables 3-2 shows it's a close game.
Yeah, for sure, it's a close game. I mean, I think at this point, Help Me Please was staying in 2nd place. Unfortunately, they had to drop off the last series of league play because one of the players couldn't play. So, or 2 of the players couldn't play, actually. So, in the end, 3-2 lose for Help Me Please. And a good win for Untouchables, putting them at least not in last place, but they are in 9th place now. Help Me Please ended up in 7th. I think they could have ended up higher than 7th, but unfortunately, as I just said, the last day of league play they had to drop out 2 players, and they couldn't finish the league, so they had to forfeit a series, and maybe even 2 series. But yeah, Untouchables, good winner, the 2nd one of this division, but yeah, it gets them in 9th place, and maybe they can still secure themselves a Division 1 spot in the promotion relegation matches, but we'll just have to find out if they're going to keep that Division 1 spot. I think it's time to go over to the next series. Cypher Orange against...
Before we do, thank you, Brie, for a Tier 1 sub for 3 months. And I believe we have Faded back.
Yep, I have just come back from eating. I'm now ready to rejoin the epic discussion of
the roughly 3-hour discussion.
Roughly 3 hours. At this rate, it's going longer than 3 hours, mate. I don't know how we're gonna get it in under. If we get under 3, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But, yeah. What's so now? Was it Cypher Orange and Saviors for our next game?
Yes.
I am
Do you want to take it off then?
I'll start us off on this one. So Cypher Orange, of course, they finished 2nd in league play, whereas Saviors, they finished 6th. Of course, Cypher Orange looking like a very strong team now coming into the season. Of course, in the last season, they didn't do so well. They had a very good start to the season, but they completely fell off in the second half of the season. But this time they're coming out really strong. They're in 2nd place, whereas Saviors a bit lower down, but still Saviors are a pretty strong team. And that 3-1 result is about to be expected, in my opinion. So what do you both think?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Cypher Orange got 2nd, tying on games with 1, 2, 3, and losing against them on game difference shows that they are a very, very strong team in this division. And against Savior Esports being 6th, it's not quite surprising to me. What was this? 3-1. So yeah, in my opinion, this is definitely a comfortable game win for Cypher Orange. If they managed to get the 3-0 sweep, they would have gotten top with 1, 2, 3, given that every other game has gone the same. So it's quite an interesting thing to look at there. Do we want to move on to the next game, or Dennis, have you given how you feel?
No, I think it's just time to go over to the next game. Gedellin's Tempest against Cupcake Crew. A 3-1 win for Gedellin's Tempest against an unlucky Cupcake Crew this season, I have to say, guys.
Yeah, unlucky to say the least. Cupcake Crew, like, you know,
we're going to say this every time.
We say this every time, how sad it is that Cupcake Crew all the way down in 10th. Like, I mean, you've got the ECC legend himself, Celsius, on there, right? You know, you've got the likes of Nickoe on there, our fellow caster, you know. Like, and yet they're still all the way down here. Like, they look so good at times, you know, from when I've seen them play, but they just can't close out any series, it seems like. And going against Gedellin's Tempest. So Gedellin's Tempest, despite making it into the playoffs, they did not really impress me much this season, in my eyes. Yet, nevertheless, Gedellin's Tempest is an expected win based on the standings, and they managed to just barely get into the top 4, just barely ahead of ILV. So yeah, I would say it is expected, but I would hope that Cupcake Crew can maybe play out an upset here, because Gedalian Tempest, they've looked pretty shaky this season, in my opinion. So yeah, Dennis, what do you think about it?
Yeah, they've been pretty shaky throughout the season. And Gedalian stands securing a playoff spot, actually. Just over Irrelevant Esports with 2 games. So yeah, really well done by them. And yeah, unfortunately, because the roster of Cupcake Crew, it's a really nice roster with Celsius, who I think everyone knows of ECC
and loves.
Yeah, loves Celsius. Everyone loves Celsius. Nickoe, fellow caster, good lad, by the way. I see you in the chat, dude. With Shrip, good friend of me. So yeah, unfortunately, it's really a fun roster, but yeah, not good for Division 1, I think.
Hype is telling us we can't forget Hannah.
Sorry, Anna.
On the roster as well. Before he goes, before he goes absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will move on to Champions Division now, week 6.
Oh well, this won't last long.
This is just to let you all know there is only 3 games. We're lucky this time. Wait, no,
2.
I'm on Division 9. I'm on Division 9. Week 9.
Division 9.
Yes, boys, we've leaked it. There's a Division 9 now.
Oh, damn it. Boys, it's time to end. Quick end of podcast.
Division 9.
Oh, no. But yeah, I was on Division 9 rather than... you know what? I'm out.
Just
Division
right.
9 again.
I
was on week 9.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what it
mate.
is? You know what it is? It's because it says day 9, not week 9. I just read that the first letter and I'm like, all right, Division, easy. But yeah,
All right.
Week 9 is what I was reading rather than week 6. So yeah, there is only 2 games to talk about here. Sakura Blues getting the forfeit win over Specky. Luxury Sports getting the forfeit win against Unlucky, and Zypher Green giving a forfeit win to Wind and Rain. But we'll go on to the more important games of Shazoo against Stay Fresh, a 3-0 there. Dennis, how'd you feel that went?
Yeah, Shazoo, really solid roster. I think, every roster in Champions Division is a really good roster, but Stay Fresh, in the end, I know one of their players. He's not bad either, but it's not their season. And, unfortunate for them, they couldn't get a result against Shazoo. Shazoo really dominant there, and a 3-0 is really well done by them, securing their playoff spot there, 3rd place of the Champions Division, so well done to them.
Yeah, I will say very well done by Shazoo. One of the favourites in the season now, of course. Now the Shazoo team has actually disbanded, and the players have gone on to find new teams for the upcoming RLRS, but I believe they'll still be doing playoffs together. But yeah, it's an expected result over Stay Fresh. I've played against the Stay Fresh guys plenty of times in scrims. Very solid team, but I would expect Team Shazoo to be take this any day. So yeah, very well done to Shazoo.
Indeed, we'll move on to the next game. Unfortunate for you here, Faded.
Oh dear.
Italians 3-0 in Brexit Bim Bam. I won't say it. I won't say that you Bim Bam this one.
Yeah,
but,
we saw
how did this game go for you?
We got kind of slapped, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't say.
Well, in the 3rd game, we actually brought it really close to them. Got pull ourselves together. But yeah, it just came down to them just having a bit more composure, I guess, and managing to take the win there. And yeah, there was quite a lot of in that 3rd game. It was very closely matched, but it was like the small things that decided the game in my eyes. So yeah, still really well played to Gedalians. They were the better team on the day for starting, and yeah, they really deserve it. They're actually into the playoffs now. They finished 4th, I believe, in champs. So yeah, it's very well done to the Gedalians team.
Indeed. Dennis, how'd you feel?
Yeah, well done to the Gedalians team. Unfortunate for Brexit Bim, they couldn't really get a result they wanted in Champions Division, but I think it was, the first time you guys played it with each other in ECC, or new roster. So yeah, unfortunate. Maybe, we'll see these guys again in ECC next season. Unfortunately, not in the same roster, but yeah, Brexit Bim. It was fun to have you guys in ECC for one season. But,
yeah, at least for one season, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we move on to the next division because there's nothing else to talk about here. No. Also, Faded, quick confirmation. Hype says Brexit Bim Bam have the best manager. Is that true?
Right.
No comment.
I don't want drama, so I'll just say, yeah, why not?
Fair answer.
Alright. Anyways.
We'll go back down to Division 4. Or do we work our way down so we go back and forth?
Oh god.
And make it really confusing. So we go to Division 1.
Or we start with Division, we go with Champions Division again, then to Division 1, you mean?
Yeah, that would work.
Alright,
Yeah.
let's do that, just to confuse everyone.
Alright.
And I'm sure people will want to hear more about Champs Division, seeing as there's less to talk about.
Yes.
As 3 games again have been forfeited. So
Alright.
yeah, we go to week 7 of Champions Division. First game being Shazoo against Gadalians. Shazoo getting the 3-1 win. To me, it's not too surprising. Again, Shazoo getting 3rd. Gadalians did get 4th, however, so it should have been a close game, as it possibly could have been through each individual game within the series. But Dennis, how do you feel this should have gone?
Yeah, Shazoo, a really good roster. I think one of the best Danish rosters of one of the best Danish Rocket League rosters, and a really good roster overall. A 3-1 win against Gadalians, which is not a bad side either. So the 3rd against 4th played against each other, and still Shazoo, they showed why they are not 4th place, but they are in 3rd place, and well played to them. And Shazoo really well roster, really good roster, really well played, and a good result here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. One of the best Danish rosters out there at the moment, in the Rocket League scene as a whole, maybe. And I would say 3-1 win definitely expected. In terms of raw skill, both these teams I think are closely matched, but the fact that Shazoo were at least at the time more of an established roster than Gadalians, I feel like that's what brought them over the edge. So yeah, the Danes doing it once again, a big 3-1 win. Very good stuff from them.
Yeah, indeed. Our interview guests are getting bored, apparently. As you could probably guess, Nickoe is one of them.
Yeah, I couldn't guess at all. Not.
And I think Chéri baited himself out as well, saying he stopped his GC grind for this. I think when we stop off yes, we're on a train at the moment. Yeah, when we go down to Division 1, seeing as Nickoe plays there, we can drag him in.
All right.
Yeah,
And
maybe
have the first interview.
All right, let's do that.
Maybe after Division 3 we can interview Chéri as well. Maybe after Division 2 we can interview Deddi. So
yeah, let's get all the guys in at once. Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, come in now, please don't.
But we'll get the guys in eventually. I think we'll just get the interviews plugged right in the middle of this. I think that would work pretty well. We'll get Psycho in a bit later on. Apparently he's doing scrims, so but we'll get to chat to him as well a bit later. So anyway, let's move on to the next.
Why you gotta spoil it?
Spoil it. Oh. Wow, sorry. Well, they're gonna find out anyway. So or maybe it's just to excite everyone about it.
Good point, actually. Good point.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, we got Psycho from Wind and Rain.
Wow!
Jesus, my ears.
Champion Division player. Wow.
Okay, well, that was kind of cringe. Week 7, Division 1. We will start off with the game of Irrelevant Esports against Cypher Orange. This was a 3-0 to Irrelevant Esports. For me, that's quite surprising, seeing as Cypher Orange were second in the league table. So, I'm just going to quickly check as to where Irrelevant Esports landed. They got 5th. So for me, this is quite surprising. Maybe it should have been closer. They could have possibly taken the game. I don't doubt it, seeing as they have. But I think this should have been a closer game for Irrelevant Esports.
Well, I think actually this was a forfeit, if I'm not mistaken. If I think I do remember this being a forfeit. There was something about this.
Yeah. Well, Cypher Orange should have had two forfeits or something. I know they have a forfeit loss, so...
I believe it was to ILV. There was something about that. And I believe... Yeah, I think it was ILV that got the forfeit. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Jack Sean has confirmed this, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay, so it's a forfeit.
Yeah. So... Well, there you go, guys. The forfeit win for ILV made absolutely no difference to the standings whatsoever. But yeah, there we go. So
ouch.
So yeah, now we'll move on to the next game. We see Saviours Esports against Help Me Please with a 3-0 win. I mean, I don't think I would expect this actually. Saviors Esports. I would think, despite hold on, Heavily Pleased to finish 7th, but they were like top 4 for like the majority of the season.
Yeah.
I remember they had to forfeit a couple games because they were like unavailable for some matches. So I'm not sure if this match was a forfeit or not, but either way, Heavily Pleased, I still think they should have won that match, whether or not it was played.
Yeah, I don't think it could have been, because they already have 2 forfeits marked down. So this was one of the 2 games that they did lose.
Okay.
No. Yeah, okay, then it's an interesting result against Saviors. Humbly Pleased, I would count them higher than Saviors. But in the end, Saviors sweeping Humbly Pleased is something really, not expected here.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing as they came 6th, Help Me Please got 7th, and like you mentioned, one of them was top 4 for the majority of the season. So this is in my opinion, could have been a close game in terms of as to who should have won that. Again, it could have gone either way, but it should have been closer in my opinion. But now we move on to the next game, being 1-2-3 against Salt Shakers, winning 3-1.
Oh my god.
He did it! Live on stream, boys.
Oh no!
I'm leaving.
Can we just boot him from the voice chat?
I want F's in chat. That's
F's
the
in
only
the
way.
chat.
Yeah, but I'm getting it started. There you go.
There we go.
My god.
Oh no! One of you want to take this on then?
Yeah, I'll get this going just to, yeah, let's just get the awkwardness out of the way. So yeah, 1-2-3, getting a 3-1 win over the Salt Shakers. As you can tell, I tried my hardest to dodge the pun there. But yeah, as we see, 1-2-3, finishing 1st in the division, whereas the team of, I've forgotten right. Great memory. The Salt Shakers. They finished it third. So yeah, it was a pretty close match. 3-1. Maybe I would expect this one to go to game 5, but 1-2-3 did what they had to do, got themselves a win, and they'll be very happy with that one, I think.
Yeah, they're very happy with that win, putting themselves in the end in 1st place of Division 1, so good result by them. Salt Shakers eventually also get into playoffs, but I think it's time to go over to the next game. Goodellion's Tempest with a 3-0 win against Untouchables. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I was getting sick of that match already. For the fun. But yeah, Goodellion's Tempest, I think they might have gone a bit of an upswing towards the end of the season, and they get a big 3-0 over Untouchables. The Untouchables, they've been known to kind of struggle. Last season, I believe they were also into the relegation playoffs, just like this season, but they kept their spot here regardless. But yeah, I would expect this result here for Goodellion's Tempest. Big 3-0 win for them, and it's what helped propel them towards the top 4, where they reside today. So yeah, Wilf, what do you think about this one?
I mean, yeah, I believe Goodellion's Tempest were on a few game losing streak towards the start of the season. And so yeah, to see them bounce back and get to 4th is quite a big, upset to say if you just register it on the first half of the season. But yeah, this game itself isn't surprising. The fact that Goodellion's Tempest got 3-0 doesn't surprise me at all. But we can move on to the next game, which is quite fitting, seeing as Cupcake Crew is the last team here. We'll hopefully drag in Nickoe after this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Cupcake Crew got a 3-2 win against Polar Ace. You know what? We could bring him in now and see how he feels about it.
Yeah, I think this is an opportune moment, so we'll get him in.
Don't drag him in just yet, because there's a bit of a delay, otherwise he might be mid-conversation.
Yeah, true. So we will get the big Nickoe in, and we'll talk to him about this matchup, and also the season as a whole as well, whilst we're at it. And we'll get his thoughts on this.
I'll drag him in right now.
Alright, here we go. Hello, Nickoe.
Hello. Hello. What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, despite being at bottom of the leaderboards. Yeah. I had a blast watching this podcast so far.
Yes.
It's a blast making them, mate. It's a blast.
Yeah.
How do you think you played, or your team played this game against Polar Ace?
I think my team did really well. I watched the game back through replays. I didn't personally play this one, but Yeah, I think my team played really well. Game this dub, so that was really good.
Yeah, that's fair. I will ask you a few questions. I know you said you had time to prepare, and you do have a lot to talk about. So once I've asked you these questions, I'll let you just rant away. But
Okay, one at a time. One at a time.
yeah. I'm not gonna just throw them at you all at once. But yeah, are you pleased with your performance this season?
My individual performance.
Yes, you yourself and your team.
Individually, I think I did pretty well, to be honest. I had one game which was against I don't remember the team. I think it was like Cypher Orange or something, where I got some insane stats. Not humble brag, but like I played really well in that game. And the other game I played was against Saviors, I believe, which I also felt I played pretty good. I think individually I did decently, but as a team we didn't really connect that much. We had some struggles in the series, so that obviously affected our standings and our obviously we got bottom of the division, which was very bad for us, but we'll bounce back, don't worry about it.
I'm not worried at all. Looking at your top 4 of your division, being 1, 2, 3, Cypher Orange, the Salt Shakers, and Gadalian's Tempest, who do you think will win the playoffs?
I think 1, 2, 3 probably will win. But I don't think it's gonna be easy for them. I think Cypher Orange is gonna make it hard for them, but I think they'll win.
That's a fair point. And finally, who was your toughest opponent?
Our toughest opponent, is probably 1, 2, 3, or any of the top 3. To be honest, they're all really good teams. Obviously, Salt Shakers had a little bit tougher than the other 2 in the top 3, but like the top 3 was are very tough teams, obviously, because they're at the top. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Mm-hmm. And you said you had a lot to talk about, so do you want to just?
Oh yeah. Let's talk about relegation promotion tournament. Can we please
You're in 10th.
Yeah, aren't we playing?
Demotion.
Are we auto demoted? Are you serious?
Yeah, you're in 10th.
No.
Easy. No. Well, we'll promote next season. Division 2 is easy. To be honest.
Division 2, you guys will clap.
I mean, Division 2 is easy, to be honest.
Who do you think you could be in Division 2?
Everyone. I don't think there's any.
Wow.
That's a statement. That's a statement he's making right here.
Clip that
shot. I mean, no, but seriously, that's what I wanted to say. Like, I was gonna say if we played the promotion tournament, we would like win against anyone. It doesn't really matter because.
So Ascension Pyrrhos, if they made it, if they had to play you in promotion tournament, do you think they'd have beat you?
No, easy 3-0, to be honest.
How about Irrelevant Esports Black?
Irrelevant Esports Black, nah. I mean, they're probably a little bit better because they don't have hype, but like.
Mate.
Okay.
All right. Way to make it interesting.
How about No Hope Esports?
I mean.
I'm gonna go down the list of teams.
I mean, No Hope is like all the teams in Division 2 are pretty much the same. They're just kind of like C3 ball chasers who thinks they're GC. Like they all think they're really good, but they're really not. Like,
well,
I did tell him to lock and load and fire away. My God, hasn't. He didn't grab any old gun, he grabbed a rocket launcher. I might as well ask you this one as well, but Radiant Esports, do you think they could beat you?
I actually was, before I joined Cupcake Crew, I was actually trying out for Radiant Esports.
Okay.
So I actually have a little bit more respect for them. They're actually one of my favorite teams in Division 2. So I'm not gonna talk mad shit about them. So.
Wow.
Aww. Deddi, just to let you know. Oh wow, Deddi said, "Hope he gets lost in Division 2."
Yes.
Yes.
Oh god.
Oh no.
Hype did say he wants to get interviewed. I know we were unsure on this, seeing as he got muted. But seeing as people are gonna talk smack about him, I do want to say it's only fair.
Yeah, I think it's only fair.
I think it's fair that he comes back. He comes in here himself and just.
How can he come back? Then?
I can easily let him in.
He literally got carried the whole season. How is he gonna talk shit?
Oh. This is just adding like fuels to the fire at this point.
Like he has the only two good Division 2 players on his team, Traxi and Ferrex. They're the only two good Division 2 players. In the team. Like how's he gonna come at me? Like what is he gonna do? What is he gonna do?
Right.
Well, this happened.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching.
Nah.
Do you have anything else to say, Nickoe, about how you think you'll do, etc.?
I think I'm gonna do pretty good next season. Just wait for some. I'm not sure where I'm at next season. Maybe we haven't really discussed on Cupcake Crew what's gonna happen next season, or I don't know if I'm going to play on another team. We'll see. But like yeah, I think I'm gonna do pretty okay next season, to be honest.
Okay,
that's fair.
That's fair enough. So there's nothing else left to say. We will continue with the rest of them. But thank you for being here, Nickoe, and talking about
yeah, thanks very much for
everything.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries.
I'll put you back into the podcast, guys, and you can do as you will at that point.
Yeah.
I can't unmute him. I'm pretty sure he's just muted himself, unless I'm wrong. But yeah, I'll drag you back in there, and we'll continue with the podcast.
Yeah.
See you.
All right, see ya.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting.
Interesting.
We should think. I just noticed. I've just clocked. We've added Hype as a guest. I now need to change the overlay, send it to you, so Hype is on that sheet, unless we just be lazy and don't.
All right, well, you can do that. Dennis and I, we can continue talking. I didn't actually put it over to the special guest screen because I'm lazy, but whatever. We could. Well, we're just gonna, even though you guys already know, I'll just remember for next time. But anyway, we'll move on now to Division 2, Week 7. And Dennis, we'll have a little chat about these matches whilst we get things prepared for our next guest, which will be Hype. So first off, first match.
You said give him 5-10 minutes.
5-10 minutes, okay. So yeah, we can have a decent discussion about this, Dennis. So to begin here, we have NG Cobalt against DSE Red. That one was a 3-2 victory for the NG Cobalt side. I'm going to really quickly bring up the Division 2 table, actually, to see where his team stood. So yeah, NG Cobalt, they're in 5th, and DSE Red in 6th. They actually finished with the exact same standings, you know, all across the board, game difference, everything. So they did equally as well, but NG Cobalt got ahead of them from head-to-head, the head-to-head tiebreakers. So yeah, honestly, Dennis, really expected that one went to Game 5, but I'm glad it did. And honestly, that one's like a coin toss to decide who wins that. DSE Red, I feel like on a different day, could have come out on top there. So yeah, what do you think about that, Dennis? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's very true. NG Cobalt in 5th and DSE Red in 6th. Getting added in like the literally the same position, same goal differential, and 18 games won and 18 games lost. They actually had literally the same season, and seeing just a really close game between them is expectable from these sides. 3-2 to NG Cobalt, I think that's true. It could have been. It could have gone to DSE Red. So yeah, I think it's just expectable from these sides that it goes to Game 5. In the end, NG Cobalt taking this series, but unfortunately for them, it doesn't get them into the playoff spot. They just lose on 3 game differential to Radiant Esports in 4th place. So unfortunately for them, but at least both teams have qualified themselves for Division 2 for next season.
Yeah, at least they've secured their spot. Of course, they won't participate in the playoffs or anything, but they have the peace of mind that they'll be staying in their
I'm
division.
still on the stream.
So yeah, as you see, Wolf talking
nothing.
on the background, but we will move swiftly on. I could just mute him on the client side. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, let's just mute him. Okay, that's done. I'll mute him in a minute. We'll now go on to our next game. We have ILV Black against Radiant Esports, and yet again, Dennis, it's a game 5. Of course, ILV Black, they're a second place team against Radiant, fourth place team. So both these teams making it into the playoffs, and yet again, with these top 4 teams that are very, close in the standings. It's gone to the fifth and final game, and it's sad we don't get to see all of these games on stream, because we all love to see the game 5s, and you'll see these intense matches. So yeah, very good performance out of both these teams, but ILV Black, they managed to clutch up in the end, and they were actually performed quite a bit better overall than Radiant Esports, getting 2 extra wins, 2 less losses. That makes no sense grammatically, but just forgive my broken English at the moment. But anyway, what do you think, Dennis? Very impressed by ILV Black. Radiant Esports putting up a really good fight there.
Yeah, Radiant Esports, they put up a good fight, and in the end, losing in game 5 is another shame against ILV, because ILV Black, they played pretty solid in this season, and Radiant in the end still securing a playoff spot. So yeah, that's well done by them. Radiant Esports, one of the contenders for playoffs, and they exactly did that in 4th place. So yeah, that's really well done by them.
Yeah, very well done. Now let's move on to our next game. We have Clap Pink against No Hope Sapphire. Now, if I remember correctly, this is actually a forfeit. Yeah, I remember this specifically. I was coaching No Hope Sapphire, and they were meant to be playing this match, but because of a Discord outage, the game couldn't be played. So that's rather unfortunate for the No Hope Sapphire side. When it came around to playing the rescheduled game, it was a free reschedule for the teams affected by it. And unfortunately couldn't play it, so that ended up being a forfeit win. So we'll move on now. There's another match, Misfits and Esports Legends, double forfeit, which leads us to the final game. So we'll only talk about 3 matches for Week 7 in Div 2, and it's for Hype's team, actually, who I believe we're going to be bringing onto the podcast very shortly. So we can have a bit of a chat about this one. It's Ascension Pyrrhos and No Hope Esports. That one, Dennis, ended up in a 3-0, and if we look at the standings, of course, it is Ascension Pyrrhos in first place at the moment with 8 wins and 1 loss, and then No Hope Esports in that 3rd place spot with 7 wins and 2 losses. And kind of, contradicts how it went earlier with some of the top teams. We remember, ILV Black and Radiant Esports, we just talked about them a moment ago. They went to game 5, but this time Ascension Pyrrhos just clean sweeping No Hope Esports. So Ascension Pyrrhos showing that even against the the top teams in their division, they can still perform exceptionally well against them. And I got to say, that's a good sign for them going into playoffs, and it could be a really big confidence booster. If they can win convincingly against the top of their division, then who's to say how well they could do in playoffs? Because I'm very impressed by that result in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really impressed by that result. 3-0 sweep over No Hope Esports is a really good result for them. And seeing No Hope Esports is in 3rd place and Ascension Pyrrhos finishing in 1st shows how dominant Ascension Pyrrhos has been throughout this season, throughout Division 2, and really contended for winning Division 2 in playoffs as well. If they can just beat No Hope Esports with a sweep here, 3rd place, it really shows that they're a really good side and going into the playoffs of Division 2. So really well done by them.
Yeah, very well done. So I think now, of course, I just got the image here. Of course, Wolf's back after just making a slight alteration to the on-stream graphics. We'll now be bringing on our second guest of the night. It is going to be Hype from Ascension Pyrrhos.
I didn't plan any questions for him, but I did make the graphic. So we'll just have to wing it.
Yeah, we'll just wing it. He
does look muted, so I'll just check if he's alive.
Yeah, just double check he's here. So, of course, for those of you that don't know about Hype, of course, the player on the Ascension Pyrrhos team that came first in League Play in Division 2, looking very solid going into the playoffs. And of course, there was Nickoe there, giving him a bit of smack talk in the interview we did with him just a little bit ago. So it's now Hype's turn to say some stuff back, and we'll see also how Hype did in the season as a whole. Because Hype obviously coming first in Division 2, looking really strong going into the playoffs. And so we'll get to see what his thoughts are on not just his own performance, but also his team's performance. Of course, I will quickly just tell you how they stood in the division. 8 wins and only 1 loss. that they took, and I will have a really quick check to see who that loss was to. Just need to really quickly read through these. It was the Raiden Esports actually, yeah. So, and they will actually be rematching in the playoffs. That will be a best of 7. But Raiden Esports winning their last matchup actually, so that's a really interesting talking point there. But now they get to rematch the playoffs, and maybe Ascension Pyrrhos could get their revenge this time. And that was Windows again. That was Facebook this time.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I don't even use it, and it's still like, oh, here's a friend suggestion, and you know, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I don't even know him. So yeah.
We have brought Hype in. He is muted. I'm just hoping that he'll unmute himself.
Yeah, he could be. Oh, here's Hype. He's now unmuted. Welcome, Hype. How are you?
Hello. I'm alright, thanks.
So we'll start off with the same questions. How are you pleased with how you played this season as an individual and as a team?
No.
What do you mean, no?
No, honestly, yeah. The whole season, it's been the same problems for us. Like, we can't play as a team, and then, like, it's just,
It's the same problems. We keep winning. It's just too
This
easy.
is what I said several times, yeah. We're winning, yeah, but we're winning in ECC. Like, it's not that
What are
big.
you trying to say?
If you look at our average MMR, it's way higher than where we should be, yeah. So, like, we're winning in
that's
ECC, but I wanted to be doing, like, better on, like, other things, but, like, we just weren't, because we weren't playing as a team, and it was just overall just weren't good.
Yeah, that's it. Fede, do you want to try and grab a second question?
Yeah, so now looking forward to the playoffs, Hype. Of course, you guys have secured the first seed going into the playoffs, and we were just talking about this before you came on. Your first opponent in the playoffs in the semis will be Radiant Esports. Now, last time you met these guys, you lost in a game 5 to them. Of course, there was quite a bit of build up to this match. Quite a bit of smack talk between you guys and Chaz in particular. You guys can read back the general chat if you really want to know about that. And you guys ended up losing that match, but now this is a second chance for you guys to, you know, get your revenge on them. It's gonna be a best of 7 this time. Do you guys think you could come out on top this time?
Yeah, I reckon the first time was just a fluke, to be honest. Like, Trax decided to air dribble it several times across our goal and just pass it to them. So, yeah, but yeah, I don't know, because Trax, well, I've split up with Trax and Ferrex anyway. So they're like looking, I'm looking for team, yeah.
I thought, oh yeah, you said you were looking for team. I know you had briefly joined back with them after you were potentially joining No Hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, you must have separated once again. Damn.
Yeah. So they're looking for one now, and I'm looking for team. So.
All right.
Yeah,
I guess a follow-up question to that is, you know, because you're no longer on a team with them, do you think, you know, the fact you're not practicing with them anymore may have an adverse effect in your performance as a result? Because, you know, going into that match, I imagine it will be a bit of unfamiliarity, I guess, when you're going to be playing with them after not playing with them sometimes. So do you think that affects you that much, or will you maybe take, you know, a slightly different approach to the playoffs, like, you know, playing it a bit more for fun, I guess?
Well, it's definitely going to be awkward for sure. But when I left the team, there was one thing that I stated, and that was that, like, we're going to try our hardest to win playoffs no matter what. Just because, like, we're in it, so we may as well just try anyway. So I think we should still be able to take it, but we never used to practice anyway, because no one was ever, but one person was never really on in the team. So
Okay.
That's a fair point. I mean, seeing as you said you are looking for team, I think a fair question is, who's your ideal lineup, including yourself? Like, who are the 2 you would choose?
what, from like the whole division?
Just in general, yeah. The players in the ECC, who are the 2 people you would choose to play with for the next season?
I don't really know, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of like good players that could just carry me, so I don't really know.
We'll ignore the carrying. Who do you think you could keep up with and play well with and go far with in the ECC Division 2 or 1 next season?
I
Out there.
don't want to, like, I don't know, because I'm trying out with people. It'd just be hard to, like, choose between them. So.
Okay, well, if you don't want to say, that is completely fair.
Yeah.
To be honest. So I don't know if there's much else that really needs to be said about this. Of course, I think actually before we end it off, I'll give you a little chance here. Do you want to? Of course, I think you heard earlier, Nickoe was.
He was here.
He was here. Would you like to say anything in response to him? Of course, keep it somewhat moderate if possible. But the floor is yours. So say whatever you'd like to say.
So is the gun.
Well, I respect Nick. I'm not really going to say anything about him, but I do need to get something off my back because it's really killing. I've been carrying like tracks and ferrets like all season. Like, my back is killing so much. Like I've been struggling to walk. And stuff. So yeah.
Have you got those wham legs? Yeah.
Yeah, my back's just burning, to be honest. And then that's why I had to leave the team because I couldn't handle the back pain anymore. Carrying them around on my shoulders all season.
Oh my.
There's gonna definitely be something sparked coming from this, but yeah, is there nothing else from you?
Nah, so that's all. Right.
I'll chuck you back into the channel. It's been a pleasure having you.
Cheers,
and see ya.
Yeah, see ya, man.
See ya.
All right, well, there we go.
We will now move to Division 3, Week 7. Week 7. An upset of a game to start with, I'd say. Team Nitro Omega against Ascension, getting the 3-0 sweep.
Shocker.
This was the start of their or the break of their 9-0 sweep.
Unfortunately,
yes. Very unfortunate. Yeah, I'd say, like, looking at the standings, it's definitely possible that they could have won. Ascension did go 7-2, as did every other top 4 team, apart from ourselves. But
yeah,
but yeah, the top 4 teams all went 7-2, and the game difference is very, very minimal between them. I mean, first and fourth, there's a game difference of 3. So just a whole series 3-0 would have just put Darklight Esports ahead of Ascension. But yeah, going back to the Team Nitro Omega against Ascension, it's an upset, but it's kind of a surprise, but not really, seeing as how well we know Team Nitro Omega are to be. But Dennis, how do you feel about this?
Well, yeah, of course, I think this was my first series playing for Ascension after I think Tucho got connection issues. I had to be the super sub for Ascension. Unfortunately, I couldn't convert the series into a win for Ascension. I have to give credit to Team Nitro Omega. They played pretty well. And yeah, they were just really hard to beat. And I think that, yeah, they have a good chance in playoffs. But of course, we as Ascension are trying to win playoffs in the end. But Team Nitro Omega, they didn't play bad, and you know, they're a really solid side, I have to say.
Yeah, the connection issues are really unfortunate. Of course, making a substitution is never easy to make in, you know, any circumstances, to be honest. So yeah, I would have expected a closer matchup, considering the caliber of both Ascension and Team Nitro Omega. But Team Nitro Omega, again, they do show that they can hang with the best in the division, but then I must say, if you meet them again in the playoffs, I don't think it will be nearly as easy for them. They're going to have a much tougher time. But I would like to see that rematch potentially. So yeah, very well played in Team Nitro Omega. No, not to discredit them at all, despite the connection issues. They performed well, they did what they had to do. And so, yeah, they'll be certainly happy to take the win there.
Indeed. Moving on to the next game, Darklight Esports getting a 3-1 victory against Galamo Delta. It's not really surprising in my opinion. You know, Galamo Delta got on the lower half of the table, getting themselves 7th, just scraping out of promotion relegation tournament. And Darklight Esports squeezing their way into 4th on the league table. Does this surprise you, Faded?
Not really, no. Galamo Delta, you know, they're, you know, bottom half of the table, whereas Darklight Esports, they're in the top 4, so... And, you know, looking at the top 4, they all have the exact same match record anyway, so it's really stacked up there in Division 3. Division 3 has just been absolute chaos this season. But seeing Galamo Delta down there, you know, it's expected that Darklight Esports would get a comfortable win. Taking a game, I guess, that is a positive for Galamo Delta. They at least managed to do that, but I didn't expect them doing much more. So that's my take on it. Dennis, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a predictable result. Darklight Esports, a good side in Division 3, and Galamo Delta just securing the Division 2 spot for next season, or Division 3 spot for next season, I have to say. But Darklight Esports, 4th place, a good result by them, and I think, you know, they are they've played pretty solid in this Division 3. So yeah, a predictable result for Darklight Esports.
Yeah, that's a fair say. I was just going to quickly point out, Chéri is in this division, so we either end this and bring him in, or we go down to Division 4, do week 7 and week 8, and then come back up and have Chéri interviewed, depending on if he's ready for it.
I mean, if he's ready now, I don't see why not. We could, bring him in and have a chat if we want to. So yeah, I guess we'll see if he's ready, but we'll continue on with the rest of Division 3, and then we'll find out momentarily. So now we've got our next match. It's going to be Snakebite and Mystic Gaming, a big 3-0 for Snakebite. Of course, Snakebite, as we mentioned earlier, they finished just shy of the playoffs there with a 3-0 win over Mystic Gaming. Very convincing result, and I didn't expect much else, to be honest. I was thinking it was going to be a fairly comfortable win for Snakebite. Wolf, I believe you played in this game as well.
Yes.
So yeah, how do you guys think you did in that one?
I think we did very well. Again, it does say a 3-0 sweep there. Mystic Gaming were a new team coming in, and they managed to get themselves 8th, which is quite unfortunate for them. Again, we played with the roster of me, Yui, and Timmy. So I think that's the roster that played the most including regular ranked, that is, the most throughout the season. So I think we've definitely done our part to secure ourselves that game. Dennis, how do you think that went?
Yeah, nice Snakebite. They good result here. 3-0 against Mystic Gaming. Mystic Gaming did not have a good season at all in Division 3. So yeah, good result by Snakebite, sweep. Very good result, solid. So yeah, that's all about this series. I think it's time to go over to the next series, Ascension Pyrrhos against Royals. And I think, as I just mentioned, since the coming of Jazz, the Ascension Pyrrhos are really playing well, getting a 3-0 sweep over Royals, which is a good result for them. So Ascension Pyrrhos against Royals. What do you think, guys? What do you guys think of that?
Well, I mean, you notice that Jez joins around week 6 it is, and he plays that game. But yeah, Jez made a good impact to the team. I think they definitely could have won the 3 Chronos players originally. But needless to say, they got a 3-0 win, and Royals got 6th. So it definitely seems like it could have been a close game. But yeah, Chronos definitely deserved that win, in my opinion.
Yeah, they deserve it, especially with the transfer of Jez. Really benefited the Ascension Chronos side. Bolstered that roster, and I would agree with you, Wolf. I think even the old Chronos lineup would be able to win that. But Jez, of course, very solid player himself, and I think he had a large impact. That transfer coming in, and that 3-0 win over Royals, I would expect nothing else out of it. So yeah, I think that's about expected for that. And now we'll move on to the 5th and final match of Week 7 for Division 3 is Gedalian Celeritas against No Hope Crimson. This one going all the way to a 5th game, but the Celeritas side do manage to come out on top. And these are actually the bottom 2 teams. So really, this match could be really decisive towards the end of the season had it gone the other way, to see who would have the chance to fight for their spot in Division 3 and who would be going straight down. So very, very important for Gedalians to get this win.
In all honesty, no, it wouldn't have. You would have Gedalian Celeritas on 1 win, No Hope Crimson on 1 win, being around minus 17.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a fair point.
Game difference, so that wouldn't have.
Well, on its own,
still been lower.
On its own, it wouldn't have made a difference.
Yeah.
But
if this game was the deciding game, it wouldn't have made a difference. But it definitely impacts the team's chemistry and morale for the later weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that Gedalian Celeritas won doesn't really surprise me. But again, it was a close game, so it really could have gone anyone's way.
Yeah, that's very true. Gedalian Celeritas just a 3-2 over No Hope Crimson at the bottom side of the Division 3. So yeah, in the end, the Gedalian Celeritas in the end is clutching this win against No Hope Crimson, and good result. And in the end, they now have to play the promotion relegation matches against the top teams of Division 4. So let's see how that goes. Speaking of Division 4, it's time to go over to Division 4, I think, to go over Week 7 of Division 4.
Yeah, so let's have a look at this.
Can you guys give me a few minutes? I just need to sort out a few things.
All right.
Yeah, well, us two can.
Make sure you mute me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do the quick mute. So I think Dennis and I will just go over the Week 7 for Division 4. by ourselves. I think we'll need to sort something out again. So yeah, we'll let him do that, but we'll go over week 7 now for the 4th division. And starting off here is a pretty big upset, I'd say, Dennis. It's FC Net Neat getting a 3-2 win over X2 Esports. Now, if you look at the division standings, I'll really quickly just load up Division 4. Yeah, just take a look at it. It's X2 Esports. Yeah, they're in 7th, but they've been able to, pick up quite a few wins. There's FC Net Neat. That was their one and only win in the season. And if FC Net Neat were going to win any games, I would expect it to be against maybe Honk Esports or DSA Orange, but not necessarily X2 Esports. Whilst X2 kept it so close, I'm still very surprised that FC Net Neat got the win here. So yeah, what do you think about this one, Dennis?
Yeah, actually an upsetting result for FC Net Neat in the end. 10th place still, but still the only win of the series is against X2 Esports. And if you looked at that they lost against Honk Esports, against DSA Orange, and they win against X2 Esports, that's quite upsetting. They needed a game 5 for that, but a good result by them. And at least they got a win. It's still, they still end up in last place, unfortunately, for them. So, unfortunate result for them, but at least they got a win against X2 Esports here.
Yeah, so they're still going to finish in 10th, yeah. Well, the thing is, it makes no difference for them because there's no relegation tournament for the Division 4 players, so even if you finish in the bottom 3, it doesn't matter. So, it's all good for them. But let's move on to the next game, shall we? We have ILV Orange against NG Saffron. This one being a top of the table battle between, the top 2 teams. It's ILV Orange. Having the perfect season now, at least for league play. We'll see if they can keep that up into playoffs. And they got themselves a win over NG Saffron, a 3-1 win. Maybe you'd expect this to be closer, but considering the difference in the win records, like if you take a look at ILV Orange, they're 9-0, and then in second place, NG Saffron, they're 6-3. So you'd maybe expect a closer game, but honestly, it's to be expected. ILV Orange, I would say they're the best team by far in Division 4. I would expect them to go on to win the whole thing. So Dennis, how do you think about this one now?
Well, yeah, it's expectable result. Though NG7, they have a good season, but ILV Orange, they have a blasting season in Division 4. A 3-1 is, I think, really deserved. And good result by ILV Orange, which puts them in the top of the table without any loss. So that's a good result by them. And I think the next series, Ascension Helios against Honk Esports, was a forfeit for Ascension Helios. So they just get a free 3-0 there. Unlucky for them.
Yeah, that's correct.
Unfortunately for them, it doesn't put them any close to the playoff spots, but maybe for next season they have a chance for getting the playoff spots. Then the next series, MGS TKS against DSA Orange in a game 5, game 5 decider, and it goes to MGS TKS in this game 5. So what do you think of that?
Oh, yeah, that's quite close for comfort for the MGS TK side. DSA Orange, they finished 8th place, and MGS TKs, they came in 4th, so boy, that was a really close match, honestly, a lot closer than I would expect. Still, MGS TKs managed to get the win, but I think, you've got to get more comfortable winning that if you MGS TKs. It could maybe be a bit of a cause for concern going into playoffs. They're still in there, but yeah, DSA Orange, they're like, they've proven themselves a little bit here. They've managed to take they've looked pretty convincing in some of their games, but I'm not too surprised that they're, in the bottom 3 at the moment. Yeah, still MGS TKs, yes, they get the win, but, I feel like they should be closing it out in a more convincing fashion. And now we'll head on to the last game of the week, before we head on back up to Division 3. It will be RC Pluto against Breakdown Krypton. Yet again, a game 5. If we take a look at where these teams were, 3rd place for RC Pluto and 5th for Breakdown Krypton. Only a couple, points difference between these two teams. So yeah, really close matchup again here, but it is RC Pluto who gets the win, and it's what, helped them get into the top 4. So Dennis, what do we think about this one?
Yeah, again, a game 5 decider. RC Pluto goes away with the win in game 5, and it puts himself in 3rd place at the end of league play. Let's see if they can keep up this form in the playoffs, because of course they still have NG Saffron and ILV Orange against them, and they first gonna play NG Saffron in the playoffs. So RC Pluto, they secured themselves a playoff spot, but let's see if they can keep up the form they had in league play and maybe even win the playoffs. We're gonna actually see that tomorrow, Faded.
Yeah, we'll get to see the Division 4 playoffs tomorrow, I believe. So, yeah, and Division 3 playoffs as well. They'll be coming for the next couple of days. So, hopefully, Dennis, you and I maybe get to cast some of that action. It's going to be great to see. So, yeah, I believe Wolf is back now from correcting a small issue. So now we'll just go on with the Division 4 Week 8 now, and then we'll go up to Division 3 again. So, for Week 8 of Division 4, we're going to start off with ILV Orange with a 3-0 over Honky Sports. Not much I can really say about this. It's just, an expected result. ILV, the best team really in the division, up against, much lesser opposition in Honky Sports. Just, doing what had to be done, a 3-0. Not much else can be said. What do you guys think about it?
I mean, it's quite clear that Relevant Esports Orange should have got this win as they did. Honky Sports getting themselves 9th and Relevant Esports Orange getting 1st. So, yeah, there's nothing really much to say apart from it was a deserved win.
Yeah, 3-0, really predictable result for RV Orange. So, yeah, well done by them. I think it's time to hop over to the next series. An interesting one. NG Saffron against X2 Esports. NG Saffron putting themselves in 2nd place, playing against the 7th place X2 Esports. Though X2 Esports, they're 7th place, and they actually won the game 5 against them. NG Saffron beating them with 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's quite a shocking game, but X2 Esports always somehow surprised people. The week beforehand, they managed to get 2 weeks beforehand, they managed to get a good win on an unexpected one, needless to say. But yeah, for me, it's quite surprising. It's a very close game as well, which is even more of a surprise to me. But Faded.
Yeah, very close game indeed, and as you said, it was a bit of a shocker that the X2 side managed to get the win over NG Saffron, considering NG Saffron finished well above them in the standings. So, got to say, very impressive here from X3 Sports to get that win. Of course, NG Saffron, going into playoffs, it shouldn't have knocked their confidence that much. It was a close game in the end, even though they shouldn't be losing it. So NG Saffron still stands strong in 2nd place, but I would expect NG Saffron to be taking that. Most days, it seems like X3 Sports are just the better team on the day. But now we'll move on to our 3rd match of the week. It was Ascension Pyrrhos getting a 3-2 win over DSCA Orange. Again, a very close 5-game series. Both these teams a lot closer in the standings. I would maybe think Ascension Pyrrhos would have a more comfortable win in this one, but DSCA Orange, they do impress us again. They've had quite a few Game 5s in this season against teams we wouldn't expect them to have such close matches with. So yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Well, Ascension Pyrrhos, they had a good start of the season. In the mid-season, they dropped out, or they just had the best results, and now it looked like in the closing stage of the season, they eventually got a win, and they actually also had to win the next one to maybe get playoffs. Maybe they already hadn't any chance anymore going into this series to secure playoffs, but nonetheless, they still get the game 5 over DSA Orange. Good result by Ascension Pyrrhos, and 6th place beats the 8th place here in the game 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely meant to be a close game due to standings, and the win is deserved, in my opinion. There isn't much to talk about the fact that Ascension Pyrrhos secured themselves a 5th game in the series win. So yeah, it puts them in a good position. And we go on to the next game, being Breakdown Krypton getting a 3-1 against FC Net. And to me, this isn't surprising, seeing as Breakdown Krypton got 5th and FC Net got 10th. So how do you feel about this, Dennis?
Yeah, expectable results. Breakdown Krypton 3-1 over NetNeat. Unfortunately for them, they can't make playoffs. They are in 5th place. But yeah, predictable results for Breakdown Krypton, I have to say, over NetNeat. And in the end, Breakdown Krypton, solid season, but not good enough for a playoff spot. So they're going to have a try next season in Division 4.
And they could have another try indeed, of course. Still expected result, a 3-1 over FC NetNeat. Of course, FC NetNeat, they're the 10th place team. It's against the 5th place team, so not much else can really be said about that. Breakdown Krypton, a bit sad that they just barely missed out on the playoffs. I think, if one more series went their way, they could have found themselves up, just above MGSTKs in there. So, a bit unfortunate for them, but it was a good win for them regardless. And speaking of the MGSTK side, they're taking the L in this next series. It was them playing RC Pluto. It was a 3-0 sweep for them. And RC Pluto, despite being just a little bit above MGSTKs in the standings, they still managed to get a very convincing victory. So RC Pluto looking really strong in that series, really showing that I think the top 3 in Division 4 are looking like contenders to potentially all 3 of them go up to Division 3 potentially. So a very good series for them. So yeah, Wolf, what do you think about this one?
It's an expected win in my opinion. Granted, it shouldn't have been as big of a game differential as it should have been, seen as MGSTS as a 4th. But yeah, RC Pluto securing themselves that win. And like you mentioned, the top 3 definitely have an opportunity to auto-promote. One of them will guarantee an auto-promote, and the other 2 will go against Mystic Gaming and Gadalian's Celeritas. So those are going to be close games in my opinion. But we can move on to Division 3. And hopefully Chéri will be ready soon, but we'll get to week 8 now. 8, 9, 8.
8.
Yep.
Yes.
And we start off with Darklight Esports against Ascension, getting a 3-2 win. Does this surprise you? To me, it does. I mean, Darklight Esports scraped themselves a 4th. But, yeah.
Yeah, wait, Dennis, did you play in this game, Dennis?
I played in this game, yeah.
Alright, so I think you're the man to ask. How do you think this series went for you? I think a lot of people would think you would be winning this match. So, how did Darklight Esports play in comparison to you guys, and why do you think they managed to edge out the win in this match?
Well, the Darklight Esports is a team that really relies on demos. They really go for a lot of demos in our defense. So we had a bit of a trouble with that. Also, the fact that we didn't get Chéri in this game because of private reasons, he couldn't play with us. So we had to use one of our subs. So we already played a bit less with him beforehand. But we played Darklight Esports and Snakebite the last 2 series of our league play on the same day after each other. So we warmed up pretty much on the day already. Unfortunate we couldn't win against Darklight Esports, even though in game 4 we had we brought it to overtime. We had a 0-second goal and then we brought it to overtime. And in the end, we won the game 4 but lost the game 5. So that's unfortunate. So we really had to win against Snakebite to secure our playoffs. But Darklight Esports beating us with 3-2. Unfortunate result for us.
Yeah, it was unfortunate indeed. As I said, I would expect a win out of that for you guys in Ascension, but Darklight Esports, they managed to clutch it out. Even still, Dennis, your team does sit in 4th place, I believe, in Division 3, so
Yes.
even then you're still up there, so that's very good for you guys. And Darklight Esports, actually, this is an interesting thing. They're in 4th place, which means you get to play them in the playoffs, which is really interesting. So I think I'll ask you another question here, actually. Do you think you guys can win against them this time in the playoffs, especially considering now it's best of 7, and I suppose you're going to be using your main lineup, I guess.
Yes.
Do you think you can win?
Most definitely. We're gonna win against Darklight Esports. We're gonna take our revenge against Darklight Esports. We have our main lineup. Chéri will be joining us. I think he can also talk a bit about that in the interview. But for sure, I think that having Chéri in the lineup again, I think the top scorer of our roster is really good to have him back. And I really think we're gonna beat Darklight Esports in the playoffs here in semi-finals in 2 days actually.
Yeah, in just 2 days, and we will get to see how you guys play. It's gonna be really exciting. But let's move on to the next match. Unfortunate one for the young Wolf here. Team Nitro Omega 3-1 win over Snakebite. Talk to me, Wolf. What happened there?
They are a very, very strong team. It's nothing else. You can't deny that. I think Dennis can agree with me. Team Omega
definitely.
Like one of the top contenders to secure themselves auto promotion. Not even. I wouldn't even say they are guaranteed to promote. I would say, and the fact that they 3-1'd us isn't a surprise. I think we struggled in 2 of the games mainly. I'm pretty sure we brought one of them to an overtime and won the other. But yeah, 3-1 to Team Natural Omega doesn't surprise me. I'm quite happy with how I performed. Could have done better. But yeah, there's not much else I can say. Do we now move on to Ascension Pyrrhos against Galimo Delta, being a 3-1 win. Dennis, how do you feel?
Yeah, good win for Ascension Pyrrhos over Galimo Delta. Galimo Delta in 7th place, and Ascension Pyrrhos just crawling back into the playoff spots in week 8, and really well done by them. I think they've been playing pretty well this season, especially the second half of the season. And Ascension Pyrrhos getting the 3-1 win over Galimo Delta is not a surprise for me.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised either, especially with the recent addition of Jez to that team. Really makes this Ascension Pyrrhos, one of the top contenders in Division 3. So a very expected result here, 3-1. Great stuff from the Ascension Pyrrhos side, and it's what helped them get into the playoffs here. They crawled their way back, as you said, and they do manage to make it in. But now we'll move on to the 4th match, Mystic Gaming against Gedalian Celeritas. It was a 3-0 victory for Mystic Gaming. Of course, where these two teams ended up finishing was at 8th and 9th respectively, and it was Mystic Gaming who managed to just wipe the floor with the Gedalian side, it seems, with a 3-0. I'd expect it to maybe be a little bit closer, but I think it showed just the difference between these two teams, as Mystic Gaming got such a convincing victory. So Dennis, what do you think about it?
Yeah, that's such a convincing victory for Mystic Gaming. It's not really what I expect. I expect maybe a victory, maybe a 3-2 for Mystic Gaming, but in the end, defeating Gedalian Celeritas with 3-0 is quite an upset. But yeah, well played by Mystic Gaming. Sometimes you just have your off days, and maybe it was Gedalian Celeritas off days. This was one of them, and Mystic Gaming just did really well in this series. So well done to Mystic Gaming, and in the end it puts them up in 8th place, avoiding the 9th place, which is now Gedalian Celeritas. So what do you guys think of this of this series, Mystic Gaming against Gedalian Celeritas?
I think it was a fair win, quite comfortable as they got the 3-0. With hindsight, it doesn't make too much of a difference, seeing as they are both still in relegation spot, but it does put them in a more comfortable mindset, knowing that they can get a game off one of the I'm pretty sure Celeritas were a quite high-seeded team, so yeah, it definitely puts them in a good mindset for promotion relegation tournament. Yeah. We now have the Royals against No Hope Crimson as the last game before we bring in Chéri. So yeah, how do you think that went, Dennis?
Yeah, good win for Royals against No Crimson. No Crimson, I think they haven't won any series. They went 0-9, I have to say. Last place for them, unfortunately. But Royals just sweeping the floor with them. 3-0 win for Royals, and yeah, it's really well done by Royals. They are in the playoff spot. Unfortunately, they end up in 6th, but No Crimson ending up in the last place, going to D4 next season. It was not their season. Without any win it deserved, I would say that they would go to Division 4.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, Royals getting a big 3-0 win there, of course. Royals, they're a mid-table team against a team that came dead last in the end. Pretty expected result there for Royals. At least they keep their spot in Division 3, and hopefully they can contend for playoffs next time. But as I've now been informed, Chéri wants us, he just needs like 5 minutes or so. I think something's just come up, so I guess what we'll do is we'll just head on to Division 2 now, and we'll have a look.
I will go grab some food because my food's now ready.
Okay, well you can do that, and I think we'll quite have a go. Walk through Division 2, week 8. And yeah, we'll talk about Division 2 a little bit, and then we'll bring in Chéri for the interview about his team. Of course, Chéri's one of the members of Ascension, so we'll get to see what his thoughts were on Division 3. But now we'll move on to Division 2. Dennis, we'll start with our first game, Misfits and ILB Black. It was ILB Black getting the 3-1 win there again. And just seeing where Misfits ended up. They ended up in 9th place at the end of the season, whereas ILB Black in 2nd. So honestly, very expected result here for ILB Black. Still looking very strong. Misfits, they've never really lived up to, like, I think they were seeded second or something actually coming into this season, and to finish in, down in ninth, really big shocker for me. But LB Black proving what they're made of, and getting the win here. So yeah, good stuff from them.
Yeah, good stuff from them. And Misfits, I think at the beginning of the season, I casted the game with Starty Wolf, and he went just all about Misfits, how they couldn't rotate. And in the end, it shows how rotation is very important in Division 2. And Misfits ending up in 9th place, getting beat by ROV Black with 3-1 is not a surprise for us. And ROV Black getting the 2nd place of Division 2 at the end of this season, at the end of the league play, I have to say. It's something expectable. Maybe Misfits would have been higher in our predictions, but it was just not their season in Division 2 here. So GG's to both sides. I think it's time to go to the next series, Esports Legends against Gladpink. Again, an Esports Legends story without a game or without one win in this series. They just lose against Gladpink with 3-0. Sveda, what do you think of this series?
Expected, to be honest. Gladpink, despite them not being like in the grand scheme of things, Division 2, they're like a bottom half of the table, but like considering it's Esports Legends they're going up against, we don't expect much out of the Esports Legends side, to be honest. We've never really have. They're more as like, a meme team. They're just playing for fun. And it's not all too serious from them. Probably one of the most lopsided teams, I guess you could say. And I'm pretty sure I've said this about them almost every time we've talked about them. But yeah, with Gladpink, they do manage to get that win. I've seen Gladpink before. They've looked a bit shaky in some of the games I've seen them in. A lot of hesitation on this side, but they do manage to bring it out against Esports Legends. So really, it's just a win you just take right there, and you just continue on, in my opinion. But moving swiftly on, we'll now go on to the third match. It was DSA Red with what I would say is a bit of an upset here over Radiant Esports. If you consider where both these teams were, Radiant Esports, they're in 4th currently, into the playoffs. Whereas DSA Red a little bit below them at 6th. But DSA Red have proven that they can, get some wins over teams, not just their level, but maybe teams above them, or at least keep the games close. So, whilst this is an upset, Dennis, I still think DSC Red did perform really well, and it's not too big of a surprise. What do you think about it?
Well, DSC Red, they promoted last season from it's quite an upset here. They're winning against Radiant, one of the top favorites of to get playoff spots. And Esports, they also got in the end they get playoff spots, and it's surprised that DSA Red won against Radiant. Maybe Radiant just didn't have that day. That's but DSA Red is getting the 3-1 in over Radiant. I'm quite upset, but it doesn't really change much. DSA Red is just in 6th position, and Radiant Esports in 4th position. So in the end, not really a big deal for both teams. DSA Red not from that win, and Radiant Esports still securing the playoff spot in Division 2. So well done to DSA Red to get a win against a playoff spot concept. So if we go to the next series, Ascension Pyrrhos against Nope Sapphire. Not really a big surprise. Ascension Pyrrhos winning with 3-1 against Nope Sapphire, which is a good result for Ascension Pyrrhos, keeping them at the top of the table in Division 2. So, Fede, what do you think of this series?
Yeah, I think it was expected again for Ascension Pyrrhos. I've actually, as a coach of Nope Sapphire, at least up until recently when they have officially split, I seen them in scrims before, a couple of weeks before this match, and it was a pretty similar story with Ascension Pyrrhos, just having much better team cohesion really, and that was really what set the difference between them. And there was also quite a bit of hesitation on the Sapphire side, and I assume it was a similar story in this matchup between Pyrrhos and Sapphire. Sapphire managed to get a game at least. I was thinking it's going to be a close match no matter what, but still Pyrrhos coming out with the win. I believe on their day, Sapphire could have won that, but I think Pyrrhos deserved to win this one. Dennis, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
No, not really. Ascension Pyrrhos has had a good season so far, and beating Nope Sapphire is just what they wanted, to keep at the top of the league. So very well done by Hype's team, Ascension Pyrrhos. So yeah, let's go to the next series. NG Cobalt losing with 3-2 against No Hope Esports, which is a really good result for No Hope Esports, seeing the table was really close at that position. So in the end, No Hope Esports finished in third place, NG Cobalt just missing out. If this result would have been in their favor, they would have made playoffs. So really unfortunate for NG Cobalt, but in the end they get beat with 3-2 in game 5. So yeah, good result for No Hope Esports, I would say.
Yeah, good result for No Hope Esports, and as you say, if NG Cobalt won that game, then they would have been into the playoffs over Radiant Esports. So this goes to show how important every single series is in this league. One result could make the difference between you making playoffs or just missing out on it, and this is an example of that in this matchup. But still, No Hope Esports managed to get that win. I would expect them to win this anyway. Maybe on a different day, NG Cobalt could have won, but still, that is a No Hope Esports side managing to take the dub in this match, and so that really helped them secure their spot in the playoffs. I believe that is the series that more or less guaranteed them in the playoffs here, and they're in third place. They'll face against I'll Be Back in the playoffs, which will be not this upcoming weekend, but the weekend after. We'll be getting to see them. But anyways, now I think we will be bringing in Chéri. I believe Chéri is ready for the interview. Of course, we were meant to do this slightly earlier, but he had to go ahead and do something. But he, of course, he's a player on Ascension, playing in Division 3 alongside Dennis here. And so we'll get to see what his thoughts are on the season. So we're just going to drag him in just a second. And we'll see what Chéri's thoughts are on the season as a whole. Finishing first must be really good achievement. So we'll see how let's get achieve this. So let's bring him in now. Hello, Chéri. Welcome. How are you, dude?
I'm very well. Hello. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing pretty well myself. So, we're gonna ask you a couple questions here about how your team did in the playoffs. I think first question here, of course, got asked: how do you think you did individually in the season, as well? How do you think your team did overall in the season? You guys finished first, so I imagine you guys could be really pleased about that.
I think both individually and as a team, we haven't done too bad. Of course, we have finished first, but we were going for that 9-0 sweep in the division. Individually, I did calculate my stats in the middle of the season, and at one point I had almost 2 goals per game. I was going for that MVP until Jess switched teams, and then he started popping off on the lower teams. He is almost, I think, 2 goals per game, or over that even. And when it comes to how we will do in playoffs, I think every team that is in playoffs in Division 3 right now can take the win. Like, the teams are very even. But my favorites for this, the first place, would be either us or Team Nitro Omega, because I think we are the best teams in the division.
Yeah,
not by far.
Not by far. I think you're right on that, but I would say you both are among the best teams in the division. I would agree with you. And speaking of playoffs, you just touched on who you think will win the whole thing. So yeah, your first opponent in the playoffs in the semi-finals will be Darklight Esports. Now, we touched on this with Dennis a little bit earlier, but last time you faced these guys, you lost in a Game 5 series to them, and now you'll be rematching them, this time in a best-of-7 format. So do you think you guys can do better this time? Can you come out on top with them, or do you even expect the game to be close at all? What's your thoughts about it?
I just want to say, we played a makeshift team. Only 2 players were experienced, and we loaned a player from Chronos to play versus Darklight, and it was still a 3-2. So imagine if that player from Chronos is swapped for me. I'm just saying, we have a high chance to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, because we mentioned earlier you were actually playing with Sub. You were not playing in that game due to some connection issues, I believe it was. So if you could do that well, having to make a substitution in the game, then who knows how you'll do with the main team in the playoffs. So yeah, you make a very fair point.
Exactly.
So I think you guys can definitely win that one. But of course, we'll have to find out on Sunday if it will come true or not. Only a couple days left, so we will see how that will go. So overall, how do you guys think you did this season? Coming first and you're looking really good going into playoffs. Are you satisfied with how you did, or do you think you could have done a lot better?
I think we could have done better because the match versus Darklight, of course, as I said already, bit of a makeshift team, but not to take anything away from Darklight, they're a very strong team and we can't underestimate them. But against Team Nitro Omega, when we lost 3-0, we really weren't feeling ourselves and we were missing a few easy touches and not really shooting the ball on target. We kind of gave away that win. So as I say, we kind of underperformed.
Alright, well, that is fair enough there. So yeah, before we send you off again, is there anything else you'd like to say to the stream, or anything else you'd like to add?
I hope you guys enjoy the podcast.
Very wholesome.
Thank you.
Well, yeah,
We always do.
Yeah, we always do enjoy having these. So anyways, thank you very much, Chéri, for coming on. It is a absolute pleasure, and I wish you luck in the playoffs on Sunday, as well as Dennis. Hope to see you guys take the win.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Alright.
As well.
Alright, well, see you later, Chéri. Thanks.
See ya.
Alright,
There we go.
there we go. So, very good interview with Chéri there. It was great to have his thoughts on the playoffs. Getting another perspective on how Ascension will do here. We have an Ascension member here in Dennis, but nice to get a second perspective as well. Again, if you guys want to see Ascension play, of course, tune into the stream on Sunday, and you guys will get to see them battle it out against the other Division 3 playoff teams there. But anyways, we'll now move on forward here. We'll now hop on to Division 1 now.
I want to quickly check if Ashtax is still in the chat, because I don't want to be the guy that just throws in that thing at the end, the little blooper at the end, without him confirming that he's okay with it. But yeah, we'll jump into Division 1, like you mentioned, on to Week 8.
Yeah.
First game we have is Zypher Orange against Help Me Please, getting the 3-0 sweep. I'm not sure if this was one of the forfeit wins, but I know Zypher Orange...
I don't believe it's a forfeit, no.
Oh, well, Zypher Orange got the very comfortable 3-0 win. Not really much can be said. But, Help Me Please dropped down to 7th from this. And Zypher Orange put themselves in a comfortable second.
Yeah, very comfortable second for them. Zypher Orange are going to be looking really strong. Against Help Me Please, I would honestly expect to see more out of the Help Me Please side. They perhaps didn't perform up to standard in this game. But Zypher Orange showing that they're the stronger team coming into this matchup, and that's really helped them secure their spot into the playoffs. And if we see the Division 1 standings, they're currently in second, just behind 1, 2, 3. So a top 2 team for sure in Division 1. They showed it here, beating Help Me Please. Help Me Please, actually, I'd like to mention this, even though they're in 7th right now, for most of the season they were hanging around the top 4, just that, a couple forfeits for them because they were unable to play the end of the season, right at the end of the season, should I say, and into the Week 10 for rescheduled games. They dropped way down in the standings. But Dennis, I'd like to hear what your thoughts about this game are as well.
Yeah, I would have expected a win for Zypher Orange, but a very close one, a very close win. I would say a 3-2 win for Zypher Orange would have been predictable, but not a 3-0. I think Help Me Please losing 3-0 is quite an upset, and seeing as they were in second place of Division 1, it's quite upsetting that they are now in 7th place, dropping all the way below at the bottom. Not the bottom, but still 7th place is not really where you want to be if you were in 2nd place. Unfortunate for Help Me Please, and a good result for Zypher Orange, I would say. Yeah,
indeed. So now we move on to our second game. We have 1, 2, 3 here. I'm not going to make the pun again. For this one. Sorry to disappoint. And then they got a 3-1 win against ILV Esports. And to be honest, this is an expected result here. ILV Esports a bit underwhelming this season in my eyes. I would have thought they would be a top 4 team, but they fell just shy of that. And now it is, 1, 2, 3 getting that win and that one. So yeah, Wolf, wanna hear what do you think about this?
Yeah, the ILV roster, like you mentioned, I'm pretty sure they've played in almost all seasons of ECC up from like season 2 or something, and almost all the time they have gotten really close to playoffs. I mean, for this season they've got 5th again. That's very close, but I'm pretty sure for the last season or the season before they managed to almost get the title in a sense. So yeah, to see them lose against 1, 2, 3 isn't surprising, but as an overall performance from them is quite disappointing. Dennis, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, RLV just missing out on 2 games is really unfortunate that they lost here against 1, 2, 3 with 3-1. So yeah, unfortunate. If the game would have been in RLV's favor, then they would have made playoffs, but that did not happen. And in the end, Kudenis Tempest is now in 4th place. 1, 2, 3 taking the 1st place of Division 1. Well played by them. So yeah, the good performance by 1, 2, 3. Hard game for RLV to beat 1, 2, 3, and this series shows how dominant 1, 2, 3 has been in the league, and let's see if they can actually continue that in the playoffs next week.
Indeed. We'll now move on to the next game, being Gedalians Tempest against Savior Esports. Gedalians managing to get the 3-0 win. And to me, that's not surprising, seeing as they got the win. At least isn't surprising, as Gedalians got 4th and Savior managed to get themselves 6th. But for the scoreline itself, I think it's a bit far out. I think maybe a 3-1 or a 3-2 is more accurate. But yeah, what's your thoughts on this, Faded?
Yeah, I think, considering how close these 2 teams are, I don't know what the specific game scores were, but I think I would expect at least a game for Saviors Esports. A 3-0 win seems, it's a very convincing one, sure, but I would expect Saviors to give more of a fight in this one, to be honest. And, with Saviors also being playoff contenders themselves, maybe if they got one more series win over the likes of Gedalians Tempest, they could have found themselves in the playoffs too, potentially. So, yeah, a bit disappointing potentially for the Saviors Esports team, but Gedalians Tempest getting a 3-0 win, and that gave them the best chance to make playoffs, because they were tied with ILV in terms of win-loss record, and they had a +2 game differential over them, so it really helped Gedalians Tempest secure that playoff spot at the end of the day. Dennis, have you got anything else to add?
Not really. Well, yeah, 3-0 for Gedalians Tempest is a good result. And in the end, it has been a good result if you look at the standings, because Gedalians Tempest just won a playoff spot with 2 game differential over ILV. So if it would have been a 3-2 win for Gedalians Tempest, I don't know, it would even ILV would have been 4th place. So yeah, it's really dominant performance, which I really needed there in the 8th week. Going to the next week, I just saw Celsius in the chat, and we're actually going to talk about this team. Cupcake Crew losing with 3-0 against the Salt Shakers. Unlucky result for Cupcake Crew, but Salt Shakers, 3rd place, hard team to beat. So yeah, 3-0 is, I think, maybe deserved for Salt Shakers. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, Salt Shakers managed to get themselves top 4. And Cupcake Crew again getting themselves 10th. Seeing as Celsius is here, I know we can't get him into the call, but in the chat, does he want to explain or tell us how he thought his run went in the season as a team, and maybe we'll read it on later? Unless we want to try and get him in as a late podcast guest if he's up for it. But yeah, needless to say, Cupcake Crew getting 10th and Salt Shakers 3rd doesn't make this any easier of a game. But yeah, Salt Shakers getting a comfortable win, as expected in my opinion. Faded, do you have anything to add?
Not much else really. It's an expected win for the Salt Shakers, a very strong side in this season. The Cupcake Crew just not really managing to get any momentum going into the season. They went completely winless, I believe. If I have a little look. Actually, they managed to get 1 win, but it was not enough to pull them out of the 10th place spot. So Yeah, it was expected result for the Salt Shakers to get that win, and in very convincing fashion as well. So very well done to them. And now we'll go on to our final match of Week 8 for Division 1. It is Polar Ace with a 3-1 win over the Untouchables. And of course, these two teams are very close in the standings, both still going to the relegation playoffs in a couple of weeks' time. But Polar Ace with only just a slightly better record over the Untouchables. And with a 3-1 scoreline, yeah, it's about an expected result in my opinion, considering the caliber of these teams. So Dennis, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, it's really a battle of the bottom teams here. Polar Ace against Untouchables, 8th against 9th, and yeah, it didn't really matter because both teams are gonna play the promotion relegation tournament against the top teams of Division 2. But yeah, unfortunate for Untouchables, but it's not like the series mattered too much. So yeah, 3-1 for Polar Ace, solid result for them, and yeah, maybe they can keep up that form in the promotion relegation tournament. Let's see, in I think 2 weeks.
We'll have this weekend. We have Division 4 and Division 3 promotion playoffs. Sorry, next weekend we'll have Division 2 and Division 1 playoffs, and then the weekend after we'll have Champs Division playoffs and promotion relegation tournament. So we have to wait 2 weeks to find out. But yeah, like you said, this game doesn't make too much of a difference as Polar Ace and Untouchables are both 8th and 9th. It kind of just now depends on who they'll go up against, depending on where they seeded. But yeah, Polar Ace getting this win doesn't make too much of a difference. So we'll just have to wait and see as to how it will go. Do we want to go on to Champs Division Week 9 now?
Week 8, you mean? Yeah.
Week 8, yeah, sorry.
8.
I do want to be sympathetic to Deddi, who's just been sitting in the call for a while now. So try and drag him in, give him an interview. Sorry.
I guess we could do that now before we go into Champs Div, I suppose. And,
yeah, there's only 2 games this div, so it doesn't make too much.
So we'll rattle through this anyway. So I guess we'll bring in Deddi now to talk about his team's performance. That's if he is ready. Yep. So if he's ready, we'll just bring him in.
Yep. And here he is.
Welcome.
Deddi.
Hello.
How are you, man?
I'm good, thanks.
So, for a few questions, I think I will ask you this one as well. Are you pleased with how you did this season? To say you only joined in from week 5, like you as your team and you yourself, how do you think you did?
I think we did fairly well. We rotated our roster a lot because we couldn't really promote or demote, so we took that advantage to just rotate the roster.
No, you just took the really smart approach.
Yeah.
Just try out each team, how each roster works. Which do you think, seeing as you said that, which do you think are the strongest three in your team to make a dent in the league?
I mean, we played really good with 2 setups. It was me, Dutch Dark, and Rocco.
Okay.
And our sub, Luke Foss, played really good the series that he played. He popped off there, so he could also be in that lineup.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Looking at your division, seeing as you don't get the opportunity to play in the playoffs, who do you think will win in your playoffs?
I think it will be close. Pyrrhos could take it. No Hope could take it, and even Esports Black, Irrelevant Esports Black. I can't really say for sure. They are both good contenders.
That's a fair point. Who was your toughest opponent out of the games you played?
Who
did you really struggle against?
No Hope Esports, I would say. We had a really close series against them.
Do you remember the scoreline? We could check.
It was 3-2 to them.
Oof.
and it was overtime last game, and
Oh,
I
God.
own gold.
Oh no.
That's
Oh,
nice.
no.
I played really shit that series.
Unfortunate, buddy.
Well, you
Yeah.
made up for it getting yourselves 5th.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, do you, either of you have any questions for him?
No, I think it's all been said there. Yeah, that's all, really.
Do you have anything to say yourself, Deddi? Anything you want to say to the stream? Anyone you want to shit talk? Seeing as that's apparently a regular occurrence.
Nickoe, he said that we were all ball chasers here in Division 2.
Oh,
Ooh.
Ooh.
Well, I don't think when he's gonna demote to this division, I think he will not perform that good. He will probably go last.
Ooh.
back-to-back lost.
Fighting words here.
You saying he's going to demote straight to Division 3 after next season? Is that what you're hinting at?
Yes.
Oh.
Right.
Ooh.
Clip it, chat.
There's another thing to clip.
Yep.
Yes, but thank you for joining us, Deddi, and sorry for making you wait so long.
No problem.
you are the real MVP.
Thanks.
True.
And yeah. What was that, Faded?
No, I just said true.
All right, well, we'll leave you to it, and thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
All right, see you, man.
See you, Deddi.
See ya.
All right, Deddi talking some smack as well.
Yep. we love to see it.
But now, like we mentioned, we go on to Champions Division.
Week 8.
Week 8, yes. I really struggled because I keep reading day and put
Yeah.
Can't
Alright.
read, allow me. But yes, we start off with a forfeit win to Shazoo, and then go to Gadalians against Wind and Rain, and Gadalians getting a 3-2 win against them.
Wow.
Wind and Rain getting themselves second. Gadalians getting fourth. Faded, you seem to have something to say about this.
Yeah, there's something to say. I was really surprised to see this result, honestly, and I think a lot of other people were too. You know, there's a lot of people seem to get really hyped about how the Champions Division standings go in particular. You know, seeing as it's the highest division. I think most people would predict Wind and Rain have this. You know, everyone would put them down. Yeah, they're the stronger team, man. They are the more established roster of either of these two teams. But if I remember correctly, for those of you that don't know about Wind and Rain, they recently made a roster change where Tree Fork's no longer on the team, and then they have Boy School Q. Unfortunately, he can't play for them for the remainder of the ECC season because of the roster lock. So they have to continue to play with Tree Fork, right? So maybe that could have affected this result here, but still, Gadalians, they had all the players on that team, really strong players, and they managed to come out with a win here. But that kind of tipped the scales, I guess, for the Champs Division. Really made it tough for some other teams trying to get into the playoffs, like Sakura Blues, for example, one of them. But yeah, I'm impressed by Gadalians, though, to get a win like that over Wind and Rain. So yeah, that's really my thoughts on it. Dennis, have you got anything else to add?
Well, it's quite interesting that Gadalians won with 3-2 over Wind and Rain, because Wind and Rain eventually ended up in second, and Gadalians, they really needed that win as well. Getting a 3-2 win over Wind and Rain puts themselves up in 4th position here, going for the playoffs, going for the prize pool as well in the Champions Division, the big prize pool. And just Sakura Blues would have just beat in the playoff spots. Sakura Blues eventually ending up in 5th place. So well done to Gadalians here, putting themselves up in a 4th place, beating Wind and Rain in Game 5.
Indeed. We will now move on to the next game, being Brexit Bim Bams against Sakura Blues.
Way.
Faded, you played this game?
Yeah,
if
I
I'm not
played it.
mistaken?
Yeah, main roster.
And how did this go for you?
Well, we got the 3-2 win, and I must say, I don't know, if anyone watched the match, you'll understand what I mean by this, because this is probably the biggest mess of a series I have ever played in my entire life, right? It was one game was going 5-1 for one team, the next game going 6-1 or something. And the 5th game in and of itself was probably the highlight for the series, right? So I'll just run it down for you, where we were, 4-1 down, I think, with about half the game left. So you're thinking, okay, we're probably gonna lose this, but then I think we end up equalizing. We managed to get 3 quick goals. Then Sacro Blues went ahead again. Then we equalized again. And I think we ended up scoring 2 goals after that to secure the series. And I was honestly like, I was kind of, just like, what on earth happened there after the series ended? I mean, we were super hyped to win it. It was a really tense series, and we wanted to try get some wins towards the end of the season. But my goodness, that was really quite a big mess of a series, honestly. And either team could have taken it, but I'm really happy we managed to get the win regardless.
Yeah, very good win by Brexit Birmingham. At least getting a win in Champions Division, really good for them. So yeah, good result. And I'm actually seeing Psycho now wanting to do the interview. So I think after we discussed, day 9, after we completed the Champions Division, we can interview Psycho. That would be a good timing. So I think it's time to go over the very last week of ECC. Week 9 Champions Division, and we actually having the team of Psycho here, Wine and Rain, winning with 3-0 against Shazoo, and that's really a good result. Seeing Shazoo is 3rd place, Wine and Rain 2nd, and a sweep over Shazoo is really well done by Wine and Rain.
Yeah, for sure. Wind and Rain, big 3-0 over Shazoo, who are fellow tournament favourites. Very impressed by Wind and Rain in this one, to get a win over the Danes. Despite the recent roster changes again with Wind and Rain, they still managed to pull out a very convincing performance. And as a matter of fact, Wind and Rain and Shazoo will face off again in the playoffs in a couple of weeks' time against each other, and so we'll get to see if Shazoo can, bring more of a fight next time, or if Wind and Rain can pull another one out of the bag in that matchup. So, yeah, Wind and Rain, very convincing performance for them. Wolf, do you have anything else to add to that one?
No, not really. Again, like you mentioned, it's a very comfortable win, getting the 3-0. It does put them 2nd by a game over Shazoo and Gedalians. But I think we can move on to the second game of Gedalians against Sakura Blues, being a 3-1 to Gedalians. Dennis, does this surprise you at all?
Well, it doesn't really. I think it would have been maybe a game 5, but Gedalians, of course, from last week, from week 8, where they beat Wine and Rain, they showed the good form, and they just really picked up the form in the closing stage of the Champions Division. So good to see that, and the Dennis eventually getting the South playoff spot is really good to see for them. Getting the good form in the closing stage of the season is really important. Now let's see if they can actually keep it up in the playoffs, where they're gonna face Luxury Esports.
Speaking of Luxury Esports, the next game is Brexit Bim Bam against Luxury Esports. Unfortunately for Faded, they did lose 3-2 against them. To me, it's a surprising game, in my opinion. To say that Brexit Bim Bam didn't have the greatest run to start with, got themselves 7th. Ignore the fact that the bottom 3 teams DQ'd and dissolved. They managed to get themselves 7th, and they did quite well. Faded?
Yeah, I'm surprised by how well we did as well. In like scrims, for example, we really struggled against Luxury Esports, but over time we managed to figure out a way to play against them, and that's really just, playing super aggressive, trying to keep on pressure, going for demos especially, and just like not letting Luxor have anything for free, and and that's a thing that they actually struggle a lot with in this series in particular. And I spoke to them after the series, and it's something they pointed out as well. Something that we did well, and I think we were actually up in the series at one point. I think we went 2-1 up, and then the 4th and 5th game they actually I feel like we started playing a bit too passive and just let them play their own game instead of us just forcing the issue and not giving them anything. And in the last 2 games they they managed to take advantage of that, I guess, and they managed to get the win in the end. But I'm happy we managed to have such a good series against them, even though I felt like I didn't perform individually well myself. As a team we did super well, I think, and Luxury Sports, they did manage to be the better team on the day, but big props to them. It was a great series in the end, and couldn't have asked for a better series against them. Dennis, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, not really. It's I actually a good result for you guys, Brexit Bim Bam. Just in Game 5 losing as Luke's is not a shame for you guys. In the end, Brexit Bim Bam ending up in 7th place and Luke's Esports completing the 9-0, 90-0 winning streak in the Champions Division. And let's see if they can keep the unbeaten streak in the playoffs in 2 weeks. So, as being said, I think it's time to get Psycho in and get an interview with maybe one of the best players here in ECC. He became 2nd with Wendon Rain in Champions Division. So, really brought up to him. And, it's Psycho, one of the best players here in ECC, as I already said. Really good player. So, I think it's time to get him in.
Yep, and I'll do so now.
Welcome.
Welcome,
He
Psycho.
is currently muted, so hopefully he does the big unmute.
Hello.
There we
Can you
go.
hear me?
Hello.
Hey, right, let me bump your volumes up a bit.
Yep. How are you, man?
Good, not bad, you?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Do good.
Yeah, very
Figured
good.
I think you can lead the questions here.
Yeah, so I think first off we'll ask you, Psycho. We've asked this to every other person. How do you think you did as an individual, and how do you think your team did in this season as a whole?
Good question. I suppose it's sort of split into 2 different aspects. We've had a good run of results against the teams that we've expected to do well against. So it's usually been either shutouts or we've taken the series quite convincingly in the final few games. But there have been a few in particular games, like the series we had against Gedalians, which was actually incredibly tricky for the sake that we thought that, we were going to be standout performers, and then suddenly they show up in ways we don't expect and they pile on the pressure, and, it can lead to a bit of frustration. And you're like, oh my gosh, we should be pushing above and beyond these teams. But some of them are seriously coming out very strongly. Gedalians and I would say Unlucky were the ones that I was really looking out for to be people who would, challenge us for the titles. I think as an individual, I've played relatively well. Some of the games I know that I've performed very well with, just for the sake that I can see the stats that I'm doing pretty decently with the help from that ballchasing.com sheet. But other than that, there's not much to go by because I'm not particularly looking at all the games we've played and, looking at the results we've had or whatnot. But I feel like we've performed pretty well.
All right, well that's good to hear. And you just touched on Gedalians and Unlucky actually just there. What do you think it was? What do you think those 2 teams did well against you guys, especially Gedalians, because they're the ones that managed to pull a victory out, and I believe Unlucky beat Unlucky in a game 5. What did those 2 teams do so well against you, and what were the struggles when you were playing against them?
So definitely. So the struggles against Gedalians was seriously, we were struggling to make any sorts of gaps in their defense. We were really struggling to do anything with the pressure that we were mounting, and we just couldn't put the ball in the goal because they were so solid. So it just led to us over-aggressing a touch. So there was always that third man creeping forward a little further than you'd expect him to go, and suddenly there's an open net behind you. And that was pretty much the story of every single game we played against Gedalians. It was us in their half for predominantly most of the game, and then suddenly it would just be switched the complete opposite direction. They'd be coming at us with a counter-attack, boom, game over. So it's very, very frustrating to play against that team for the sake that their defense is so strong. I think Sema in particular is an absolute brick wall. He's very, very difficult to get past. So they've done incredibly well as a team to perform as well as they did, and I certainly wasn't expecting it to be that much of a challenge. So it shows how much of the improvements they've made. In terms of Unlucky, even though I don't think they've done amazingly in the season, I don't know if they're still playing. Or
They had disqualified. So.
Oh right, okay.
So they forfeited 3 games and then disbanded.
Oh wow, okay. No, that team in particular, I was worried about for the sake that every single player on that roster is an extremely competitive player. And as a unit, they are very, very fast players and they work with each other incredibly well. They always link with passes and make opportunities. And I would say as a team going forward, they are by far the most threatening team in the whole league. So if anything, I should be thankful that they've got disqualified because that's the team I would really be nervous for competing in the playoffs.
Just as a quick note, I've just got this from Shazoo. I don't know if Timmy wants me to read it out, but they say, he's going to announce it later today anyway, so at some point it's going to come out. They say that their roster won't be able to compete, so we will promote someone up to the spots that they hold. And doing the maths, that's either Stay Fresh or Sakura Blues. Right. And so, just as a general thing, if either of those teams came up, would you be at all threatened by either of them?
Sakura Blues, I think, took us to a game 5, which again was something we weren't too expecting of. They played very, very solidly. I'm not sure how they've done as a whole. Maybe, well, you said it's either them or Stay Fresh that are going to be promoted.
Yeah,
I think I would be more worried.
I think guaranteed. If I just have a quick check on the maths, you can continue talking. Sorry, and I'll let you know.
Yeah. I would think that Sakura Blues, if they played as well as they did in the series against us, they would be the more threatening team. Against Stay Fresh, it really is just a matter of if you have that aggression, they struggle to keep their composure at the back. And I think that's how we get the majority of our wins. It's just pressure overload, chase, keep on going. Eventually, the gaps will form. It's not as if we're always linking together passes 24/7. We just like locking teams in their own half and forcing mistakes. And I think Sakura Blues, it was very, very difficult to do that against them, whereas Stay Fresh.
Thank you. Thanks to Newt, he's done the maths for me, and Sakura Blues will be the one that'll be taking the space. So you will, for the first game, be most likely against Gedalians.
Yeah.
It'll be either Gedalians or Sakura Blues. I'm pretty sure it'll be Gedalians. And if Luxa makes it past Sakura Blues, then you'll go against them as well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if we can if we can perform well. Hopefully we grasp a win against Gedalians as some quick revenge. We'll see how it goes.
Is there anything else you have to ask, Faded?
Yeah, I think one more question I'd like to ask about the Wind and Rain roster. Of course, we all heard recently about Treefork. He's no longer on the main roster, but I believe he's still going to be playing for you in ECC until the season concludes. Do you think that will have any kind of impact to your performance? Because you won't be practicing with them anymore, but do you think that will impact your performance at all, or do you think you can still keep up to the standard you've had thus far?
I think it will impact our performance, but only to a very limited amount. As you said, we're not going to be practicing every single day together. But it's funny you should mention this, actually, because we, in essence, replaced Treefork on the roster with Smiler or Boys School Q. But Tree's actually just taken a sub position for us. So we will be playing together as a unit going forward if he's playing with us as a sub. So we've still got that chemistry together as a team. We still know how we play together. And I don't think that's going to affect anything. It's just a matter of practice. But I think if we arrive an hour or two before the playoffs, we can perform just as well as we're expecting to.
All right. That's excellent to hear.
I think I just have one more thing to ask to you. We all know the goal of the year from Give Your Game, I think everyone has seen it. 1 million views on your goal,
Oh my gosh!
I have to come up with it because I think I've seen the goal like 10 times already. It's an insane goal. Do you want to tell something more about it? Was there a rank match? Was it a scrim or even a league game? What kind of game was it?
Did you do it with your eyes closed or what?
Oh yeah, I was facing backwards. I was counting sheep in my head. It was easy.
Whilst playing with your controller on your toes, right?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, if you want some background, I can't remember the tournament it was. It was some sort of weekly tournament event. I have no idea what it was. It's a long time ago. I think it was in August. We were just sort of doing it for a laugh. And we ended up getting hammered by Blackstrike, Ease, and I can't remember the other bloke. Anyway, all very, very strong competitive players. And they ended up taking that series. But that was just sort of an array of light, I suppose, in a really dark, dingy series. We were getting smacked pretty hard. So in that final game, it was pretty much all over. We're still trying our best. Ball came up in the air. I thought, I can hit this backwards. Maybe I can get some sort of follow on it. Hang on a minute, I've set myself up very nicely. Maybe I can get some sort of follow towards the goal, and it just sort of happened. It's one of those spontaneous things that you sort of work as you go. It's it's not something planned from the word go, but there you go. That's what you have to do in competitive. You just have to sort of improvise because not everything's going to go your way. And another note in that play, I was positioned way too far forward, and thus I could only hit the ball backwards in the first place. So if you really want to be stingy about it, I shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. I should have been further back in the defense. But there we go. Work to charm.
Indeed. I mean, we all know about goal of the year, but goal of the decade. What have you got in mind?
As in, you want me to hit a goal of the decade, or
goal of last decade, goal of this decade coming up? What do you think?
I mean, I don't think it's that good, and I'm not sure I'll do anything quite as impressive in my life again.
Fair enough.
Just one of those things.
That's fair enough. Do you have anything else you'd like to add yourself?
Not particularly, but again, as always, just a massive thank you to everyone at ECC for getting stuff together.
The pleasure is all ours, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing it since season 3, and it was just something I did with close mates of mine a while ago. So one of the guys was not competitive in the slightest. He was hovering around Champ 2, Champ 3. Coincidentally named Dennis, and another guy called Scenery. And just from having a bunch of fun with those guys, we ended up taking that season. And then the following season, I was with Evade and who else? Jakey, there we go. And again, it's just one of those fun things. But as soon as a prize pool comes home, that's when you really see how impressive ECC's come along over the past few seasons.
Yeah, I mean, we have to give a big shout out to Drama Alert for that one.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone else that tweeted at ECC for that prize pool. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get a prize pool.
Yeah.
Maybe there would have been one, but just a lot smaller, insignificant amount.
For sure,
of money, which kind of sways people away to put roughly 13 weeks of their lives into this. So, thank you to everyone for being able to get us that prize pool.
Yeah, I mean, the competition has come on leaps and bounds as well since the last seasons I was playing. There's some seriously good teams popping about, so it's just going to be anyone's game when it comes to playoffs. Whoever's performing best on the day is going to take it. I don't think there can be any firm predictions in terms of first, second, third, fourth, or whatnot. It's going to be close.
That's fair enough. Well, thank you for joining us, Psycho.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And see you, my friend.
Yeah.
Good luck.
See you guys. Good luck.
And there we go.
Nice.
Yeah, very good chat with Psycho there. Gave us some great insight into how his team done this season, and really think he could do well in the playoffs. Really excited to see how Champions Division will go because it's going to be some top quality gameplay in that, and so cannot wait to see how it goes. But now we're going to continue on with the results. Of course, we'll now go on to we'll continue with the final week of league play, and we'll hop on down to Division 1 to move things forward. And let's talk about this first game here. We have Saviours Esports and Polar Ace. This one being a 3-1 victory. If I quickly bring up the Division 1 table again. Saviours were in 6th and Polar Ace in 8th. And honestly, this match doesn't really change much, to be honest. Even if Polar Ace won this, I highly doubt they would have gotten out of the relegation spot right now. So not really the most interesting match, to say the least. But Saviours Esports, at least 100% guaranteed they'll stay in Division 1 there. So yeah, Wolf, what do you think about this one?
It was an interesting game, I would say. Again, Saviours Esports being 6th, Polar Ace being 8th. It does give Saviours Esports the game up, and Polar Ace are stuck in 8th. If they did get the win, it wouldn't have made too much of a difference. They would have still been stuck in the same position. However, maybe it could have inspired them to do a bit better next season and hopefully help them survive the promotion relegation. Dennis?
Yeah, for sure. I think it wouldn't have made any difference. Polar Ace is in 8th place and Saviours Esports in 6th place. It's unfortunate Saviours Esports just couldn't make playoffs, but in the end, a solid season for them. Polar Ace just have to battle against the top teams of Division 2 to stay in the division, and Saviours Esports do have a ticket for Division 1 for next season, so we'll see how they will end up. Going to the next series, Zypher Orange against 1-2-3. which is the first place against the second place, and actually 1-3 winning this one in game 5. Close series, which you would expect from the first and second place of this division. Do you guys think?
Oh yeah, indeed. I mean, you can't really say anyone should have won that. Zypher Orange going 2-3 down. 1-2-3 getting the same amount of games against them and a 1 game differential. Within the series. So if Zypher Orange would have done that, they would have been first. That is the only way the 1-2-3 could have gotten first. Like, they had to have at least to win. So good job to them. It was a close game, like you mentioned, and there's not much else to say. Faded, do you have anything to add?
Nah, not much else. I would 100% agree. If I were to be casting this game, I would not be able to predict a winner because both these teams are so closely matched. And it was 1-2-3 who came up clutch in that game 5. I would have expected to go to a deciding game either way, considering the caliber of these two teams. And really, that didn't make much of a difference. I mean, the winner would have gotten the first seed and therefore an easier matchup, I suppose. But yeah, nevertheless, 1-2-3 managing to get that win. But I think on another day, Zypher Orange could have just as easily taken that. That's my view on it anyway. But moving swiftly on to our next game, I think this one's a forfeit actually.
This one's forfeit, yes.
Yep, so Godalian's Tempest forfeit will not help me please, so we'll not bother discussing that. We'll move on to ILV Esports against Cupcake Crew. 3-0 sweep, and again, it's pretty safe to say, guys, pretty expected result for the ILV Esports side. Despite the struggles throughout the season, they did manage to get a win over a struggling Cupcake Crew team. So what do you guys think about this one?
Dennis, you want to start?
Well, yeah, LV, they got this 3-0 against Cupcake Crew, and the last shot to get playoffs was this game, and they were battling against Godalian's Tempest for that 4th spot, but it was just unlucky for LV Esports that Godalian's Tempest had a forfeit win against Help Me Please. So in the end, that game led to that Irrelevant Esports finished up in 5th place on 2-game differential. So unlucky for them, but at least they have a shot next season in Division 1, and Godalian's Tempest going to playoffs. So predictable result against Cupcake Crew. Irrelevant Esports playing good, solid in this division, and Cupcake Crew, it wasn't their season by far, and maybe they can do better next time. Maybe we'll see them next season in Division 2 if they keep on going in ECC. So let's see how that will turn out.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you summarized all the points there. I do have a bit from Celsius in Discord. I'll wait for him to finish his messages. But he's basically given me a summary of how he feels he did in ECC in general. Oh, he's done. It is quite a long message. The fact that he has to separate it into 2 concerns me. But should we do this now, or
we just talked about Cupcake Crew, so why don't we do it now?
Might hold it now, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Celsius starts by saying, going into Division 1, the Cupcake Crew was a team which had never played before. At the start, we didn't understand each other's play styles. The idea was to help develop players to become better. I brought Hannah in the team first, as originally I was trying out someone, and at the time we met her in a ranked match, and it went rather well. Hannah was invited, but the tryout went to another team. Srib joined not long after as well, with Obstrom being our sub. When we signed up, I was kind of expecting that we would end up in the 2nd division, but how the MMR worked out, it chucked us into the 1st division. We ended up as the underdogs of the entire division. Hannah wasn't very comfortable with her 3s game, with Srib being really strong with his offense, but his defense was more passive than needed. I was playing as an all-round kind of player. When we played our first match, I realized that Obstrom was a bit outclassed due to his rank, so I transferred him out, replacing him with Pyrrhos and Nickoe. As the season went on, we started to find our feet a little bit, but it never really surpassed what was necessary to get the wins. It was definitely an experience for Hannah, as she had never played in any kind of tournament before, so it was a learning curve for her. Pyrrhos, again, I think mentally wasn't there for a tournament-based style, but he has a solid play. He is a solid player in offense, alongside Nickoe as a strong player on offense, but his mentality let them down. Other than that, they were both solid contributions to the team. From a coaching background, their mentality is definitely something they would need to work on to further themselves in their competitive careers, but both good players. Towards the end of the season, Hannah started settling better with few coaching sessions. She managed to feel more comfortable in her abilities to read the game, seeing her threes rank go from 1400, which was when he first picked her up, to 1600 by the end of the season. Again, I believe that was just down to experience, and this is what I had felt the team was lacking going into the tournament. This was probably the reason why we ended up at the bottom of the table. Other than ending at the bottom of the table, it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable team to make and the fun to be in a league. It is always nice to see teams and players developing, such as the likes of Snakebite, Ascension, Alpha Yui, and Timito, just to name a few out of many. I look forward to the next season, either under Cupcakes or a new team.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting indeed.
I think it's only fair now that we move on to Division 2, Week 9. Clap Pink against Misfits. Clap Pink getting the 3-0 win. Again, this isn't really too unexpected, sorry. Clap Pink going 3-0. Maybe it could have been a little bit less of a win, making it a closer game. But yeah, they managed to get this 3-0, securing themselves 7th. Just out of promotion relegation. Dennis, how do you feel on this?
Well, yeah, Misfits, they get swept again, and it's not really not really unpredictable. Clap Pink, they also don't have a good season, but Misfits, I think they finished in 9th place, and that's really deserved. Clap Pink in the end finishes 7th. No real surprises here. Misfits ending in just with only 1 win, and Clap Pink with 3 wins. No really surprises here. The Clap Pink wins here with 3-0.
Yeah, I would agree with that. With Misfits, again, we talked about this earlier. Misfits where it was the cast with Stealthy Wolf and Dennis, where Stealthy Wolf was going absolutely bonkers about Misfits playing. In particular, their pretty lacking rotational skill in the games. And, I think maybe those issues have plagued them, all season long. And Clap Pink, a 3-0 win, I would have expected it to be a bit closer, but, a 3-0 win, I'm not exactly shocked either. So that's my opinion on that. So there, we'll move on to our next game. Another 3-0 sweep. It is ILV Black against DSA Red. As I said, 3-0 win. And I would have thought DSA Red could have maybe put up a bit more of a fight, because he seems to do well not only against teams of their own level, but also teams that are, on paper better than them. They've given teams like Radiant Esports, for example, a run for the money, even getting a win there, I think. But despite that, ILV Black get a 3-0 win. Nothing too surprising, but I feel like DSA Red could have maybe performed a bit better. So Dennis, what do you think about this?
Yeah, DSA Red just promoted from Division 3. They had a solid season. I think they could be happy with this first season in Division 2, and ILV Black is pushing really hard for that first place. In the end, they become 2nd and will play No Hope Esports in the playoffs. So, ILV Black, a good season for them, and DSA Red, they just had a solid season. Predictable result. ILV Black just sweeping the DSA Red. Predictable result, and maybe we can see DSA Red performing better, maybe getting playoffs next season in Division 2.
Yeah, and definitely there. Like you mentioned, DSA Red are a team that did promote from Division 3 last season, so the fact that they managed to scrape out of relegation is very impressive. The fact that LV Esports Black got the 3-0 win doesn't surprise me, as they are a very strong team. But there's not much else needing to be said. We will move on, however, to a game that, in my opinion, nothing really needs to be said about. Ascension Pyrrhos against Esports Legends. Ascension Pyrrhos getting a 3-0 sweep very comfortably. Faye, did you have anything to add?
Not really. It's just expected. 3-0 win. I mean, what else can you really say, to be honest? Dennis, can you even add anything else?
No, first place against last place, 3-0 sweep. As expected. Easy win for Ascension Pyrrhos here, getting themselves first place of the league, playing Radiant Esports in the playoffs.
Yeah. A more surprising game in my opinion.
I think that was a forfeit. Radiant against Nickoe, but it's a forfeit because
That's a forfeit.
Yeah, one player of Radiant wasn't able to play. I think it was Chéri who wasn't able to play there, didn't let us up. So, and it was a game playing in week 10, so the transfer deadline was already expired. So, they had to forfeit this last game, but at least they are in a playoff position. They can still play against Ascension Pyrrhos in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. They can redeem themselves if they do have the roster in time. Moving on, we have NG Cobalt against No Hope Sapphire. Noble Gaming Cobalt getting the 3-1 win. I'd say this is an accurate result. I don't have much to say. Cobalt getting themselves 5th because of this game, and No Hope Sapphire not able to win it, forcing them into 8th. This would have helped them scrape out of a promotion relegation, actually. Unfortunately, that isn't the case.
Yeah, it isn't the case, unfortunately, but I would say, it's about expected. You can't really say much else about it. Maybe No Hope Sapphire could put up a bit more of a fight against them, but I would still expect Cobalt to come out with the win. Even if it went to a deciding game, I would expect them to take the victory here. So not much more that can be said in that one. It's just another day at the office for the Cobalt side. But for Sapphire, that means with that result, they are down to the promotion relegation tournament. To be honest, I don't even know if they're going to play it, because as far as I know, they're no longer a team anymore. So we'll just have to wait and see. Dennis, have you got anything else to add to this?
No, it was a pretty solid season for NG Cobalt. 5th place, and No Hope Sapphire going to the promotion relegation tournament. So we'll see how that turns out. But at least NG Cobalt can play in season 6 in Division 2 again. So good to see them next season, hopefully, again. So I think it's time to go over the last games of Division 3. And it's going to be interesting now. As we see the first game. Here we go.
Here we go.
The first game. I've waited for this too long. Ascension against Snakebite. 3-1 to Ascension. Wolf, do you have anything to say on that?
I feel like you're trying to be aggressive.
Honestly, his tone of voice would suggest that.
Yeah, I know. This is one of those games where it's basically a clash of the titans, even though it's in one of the lowest divisions. It's the last game of league play for Division 3 for Snakebite and Ascension. That has been the same case for the past 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. So as an overall, I personally enjoyed playing the game. It's kind of funny. I think the reason Dennis is so hyped about it is the fact that he was very close to joining Snakebite, but on the what was it? You joined Ascension the day you were about
the day I wanted to join Snakebite, the day I wanted to message Yui, I'm going to join Snakebite, Ascension messaged me and I joined Ascension. So maybe 4 hours, maybe if Ascension contacted me one day after, I would have said no, I joined Snakebite. But things turned out differently, and in the end, we beat
you're not going to forget
Snakebite with you. So yeah.
It's fine. I just won't cast the game on playoffs, and if I do, I'll bully you.
Oh, nice. It was looking forward to it.
It was a deserved win. I think Ascension are definitely one of the teams that can get themselves first. It's between them and Team Nitro Omega, in my opinion. As a matter of who is going to get first is undecided, in my opinion. But on Sunday, we'll have to find out.
Sure.
Dennis, do you have something to add? Sorry.
No, at first we're playing Darklight Esports, and then hopefully we'll get to the final. And in the end, I think it's gonna be really hard to say if either Kronos or Nitro Omega are gonna win, because Ascension Kronos, they are in a really good form the last few weeks, and it's gonna be really hard to say who's gonna win that. So definitely the playoffs are not going to be easy for us. But yeah, really happy that we finished at the top of the league.
Yeah, I want to also point out you had the game against Darklight Esports beforehand, and you had lost it, correct?
Yeah, true.
The amount of pressure that was on you for you to win this game.
Yeah, for sure. I've made two comms videos about the game against DLE and the game against Snakebite, and like for real, I was so nervous. And maybe the nerves help, but yeah, also because it's against Snakebite, you know, the rivals Ascension. It was such a such a clutch game. Yeah. The one who would win it would go to playoffs. So it was such a clutch game. The last game of the
You got to go also along more the lines of, if you had won against Darklight Esports, you could have rigged the game against us to let us get it as well. But you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you struggled in that first game, which made you have to play out of your minds for the game against us, which didn't help us at all, in my opinion. But if you had won against Darklight Esports, you'd have definitely been more relaxed in terms of knowing if you had won, then great, you'd have gone like 8-1 or something along. 8-1.
Yeah.
But if you had lost, then we also go into playoffs as well, and then we end up joining you. So we move on to Hype sent me a video about Ascension Snakebite.
Wow.
Video.
I'm not going to watch it yet, but I've just mentioned it as he said to. Do you want to give me a rundown of what it is before I click it?
Just don't watch it.
I have seen it, and it's like one of the worst edited videos I've ever seen in my life.
True.
Hype, I'm pretty sure would have done it on his phone. I know he had to.
I've had a laugh when I watched the video, I have to say.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we'll go down to the next game being Darklight Esports against Ascension Pyrrhos, as we are slowly running out of time. It's almost 9 o'clock. We have been streaming for 3 hours.
Yep.
Let's go. Dedicated.
The dedication. Anyway, it was intended. Don't have a go at me. Ascension Pyrrhos won against Darklight Esports. This was the game that secured them a win. A spot in promotion. So a good job to them. Ascension Pyrrhos, that is, going 3-1. Definitely a tough game for them. Jez may have given them an upper hand. I can't decide as to whether they would have won without it or not. But that's up for debate, really.
Yeah.
How do you feel on this?
It was up for debate.
Faded.
But I feel like it's still expected. You know, with the we've mentioned the transfer of Jez into Kronos. He's definitely made this team a lot better. I feel like, just with the greater individual skill on his end, and so to get the 3-1 over Darklight Esports, very great result for them, and it's put themselves into a better position going into playoffs. It does mean they'll definitely have to face a different opponent. They'll have to go up against Team Nitro Omega, a very tough opponent still, but anything is possible in that match. I would assume that Kronos managed to win it last time against them. We'll just have to see if they can do it a second time coming into the playoffs. Dennis, you got anything else to add?
Good performance by Kronos beating Darklight Esports aside. The main team of Ascension we couldn't beat, but in the end, Kronos beating Darklight Esports and a good result, good game, 3-1, and that puts themselves up to second position. Actually, I think they were like 6th when Jazz joined, and eventually second. Won all their games with Jazz, so that's a really good impulse Jazz gave to the Kronos side. Eventually, into playoffs and even second place.
And good job to Jazz avoiding Snakebite.
There you go.
But moving on to the next game, we have Team Nitro Omega against Gedalian Slaritas. And a very comfortable win, I'd say. 3-1 to Team Nitro Omega. Not surprising. They are third in the league table, and Slaritas are in 9th, so they will be fighting in a promotion relegation. Dennis, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's a good win for Nitro Omega, and actually, Gedalian Slaritas would get a game from Nitro Omega, because the way how Nitro Omega plays is just really, really good. And, Good Acceleratus, they really don't have a good season. They only won 2 games out of the 9 series. So just getting a game against Nitro Omega, I think they can be happy with. And Nitro Omega, one of really the contenders to win Division 3 playoffs. So a dangerous side. And well done to Nitro Omega this season.
Yeah, well done to them. And to get a win over Godalians, Celeritas, very expected result, to be honest, considering the Godalians team, they're now going into the relegation playoffs. They're in 9th place right now, so they'll be having to fight for a spot in Division 3 for next season. And as with Nitro Omega, that was the game that definitely secured them a playoff spot for this season. So a great job for them, a 3rd seed. We'll see how they come out coming into the playoffs this weekend. Actually, we'll get to see them play. And now going on to the 4th match, we have Guillermo Delta against No Crimson, a 3-0 sweep. Not much I can really say about this, despite both these teams being in the the bottom half of the table. Still No Crimson have struggled all season long, whereas Guillermo Delta have had an easier time getting wins. And yeah, just unexpected result, I gotta say. Could have maybe been a little bit closer, but a 3-0 win, nothing shocking about that. Wolf, do you have anything else to add?
No, not really. Again, like you mentioned, it's not too much of a shocking win. Guillermo Delta scraping themselves out of promotion relegation, and No Crimson forced to auto-demote. The next game we have is Royals against Mystic Gaming. In my opinion, this could have been this is an accurate win. Royals getting 6th, Mystic getting 8th. And it's a close game. It makes sense as to where they are in the league tables. Faye, did you have anything to add?
Not much else to add, really. A very close game indeed, and with these 2 teams being close in the standings, it's kind of expected. Maybe a more comfortable win could have come out from Royals here, but other than that, it's expected that Royals would end up getting the win here. Closer than expected, as I said, but they get that, and it means they can keep themselves afloat in Division 3. Dennis, anything else you want to say?
No, not really. A predictable result here. Royals 3-2 over Mystic Gaming, and it doesn't really make any difference between the standings of Division 3 for Royals and Mystic Gaming, but in the end, it's still Royals. Just a good booster, maybe going into next season, where they will still play in Division 3. So yeah, a good result by Royals. And I think that's Division 3 concluded, where the playoffs will be in 2 days on Sunday. So it's time to go to Division 4, the last division and the last week we're going to talk about. And the first game is ILV Orange taking a 3-2 win over X2 Esports, which is fairly close. I would say that I would have predicted a 3 over ILV Orange earlier than a 3-2 for ILV Orange, but in the end it goes down to a game 5, and maybe ILV Orange wasn't trying because they already secured the playoff, but in the end they still keep their unbeaten form here in Division 4 league play. So what do you guys think of that?
Closer than expected. I would agree with you there. I would think ILV Orange would get a 3-1 or even a 3-0 victory in this game, considering they're right at the top of the standings and have outshone all other competition in their division. Even still, X2 Esports, a good result coming out despite not getting the win, to take a game 5 to take it to game 5, should I say, against ILV Orange. Very, very impressive from them. But there's not much else I really need to say. Wilf, you want to add anything?
Yeah, there's not much to add. Like we mentioned, X2 Esports are a roster that can surprise you in terms of beating or getting close to beating some of the top teams. But unfortunately, today wasn't the day. And they did unfortunately lose quite closely, but nonetheless they had lost. Moving into the next game, we do only have 3 games for this week, as 2 were forfeits, 1 being a double forfeit. Noble Gaming Saffron against Breakdown Krypton. Noble Gaming Saffron getting a 3-2 win. What's your thoughts on this, Faded?
Yeah, my thoughts on this, closer than I would think with both these teams. Considering NG Saffron, they're in second. Breakdown Krypton just outside the playoff range there in 5th place. So Yeah, they're actually fairly close in terms of record, but with how the way Division 4 panned out, it was like from second place down to 7th or even 8th. It was really close in the standings. So Game 5 wasn't totally unexpected. I'm not too surprised about it, but I would think the Saffrons could take a more comfortable win from that. Dennis, what else do you think about this?
Oh yeah, it was an or nothing game for Breakdown Krypton, especially going in Game 5. If they would have won it, they might have secured playoffs. But unfortunately for them, they lost that game 5 in against NG Saffron, and they end up in 5th place. So yeah, it gets MGSTKs to playoffs. So yeah, well done to them, and well done to NG Saffron as well, getting 2nd place. And we'll see their how they will perform in playoffs tomorrow. Going to the next game, Ascension Helios getting lost or losing in Game 5 against RC Pluto. RC Pluto actually a close game, maybe not expected because RC Pluto pretty solid side, and Ascension Helios, yeah, they lacked a bit. I think that losing with only 1 game is not that bad for Ascension Helios. Unfortunately for them, no playoff spot for them, but RC Pluto well played for them this season and in league play overall. What do you guys think?
Well, I would think this match was really important because this could have potentially made a difference between, Ascension.
Not potentially.
Well,
if Ascension Helios at all won this, by any margin, they would have got playoffs.
Well, actually, yeah, that is true. They would have made it into the playoffs.
Because they were before this game, they were +1 as our Breakdown Krypton, so they'd have been tied with them. If they won by only 1 game, they would have been +2 with on games with 5 games, same as MGKS. And I'm pretty sure their score for and score against means that they would get 4th instead of MGKTKS.
No, so really, not potentially. This game would have made a big difference. So if they won this game, then playoffs it was for them, but they didn't manage to bring it out in the end. It was a really close series of Game 5. It must have been pretty heartbreaking if they knew that if they won that, they would have been in. But they just could not pull it out of the bag. And, MGSCKs, it must be a bit scary for them thinking that, their fate for this season lies within that 1 match there. So, yeah, it was really important. Well, it wasn't so important for RC Pluto. I think they probably would have stayed up.
They are guaranteed. Before that game, they were guaranteed.
Oh yeah, so they would have stayed in anyway. So for RC Pluto, they were just playing for seeding. But for Ascension Helios, it meant either you get playoffs or you don't. So they didn't come out on top in that game, sadly, for them. So yeah, Dennis, do you want to add anything else to that?
No, not really. RC Pluto, it's just lucky. Or Ascension Helios, unlucky result for them because if they would have won the Game 5, they might have. They could have maybe secured playoffs, or maybe if they would have won with 3-0 against RC Pluto, they could have made playoffs as well. But RC Pluto well played against Ascension Helios, and then the last game is a double 4th bid. FC Netneat against MGSTKs. So that's all it, I guess, from league play. I think we covered all the weeks from division or Champions Division to Division 4, from week 1 to week 9, and we did it, boys.
We did it.
Done it. We can finally sleep.
Yes.
Yes.
We have. Do we want to try and talk about the 2 playoffs the playoff games tomorrow and Sunday, or do we want to try and do all playoff games?
I don't think we have that much time, so
no.
I think it would be
we'll
wise.
Just do Division 4 and Division 3.
We'll just talk about this weekend very briefly before we sign off. So we'll begin with the Division 4 playoffs happening tomorrow, starting at 5 p.m. CET, I believe, or. Yeah,
4 p.m.
4 p.m.
5 p.m. CET.
Yeah, CET.
I don't know what tournament is registered.
I think it puts it in your own time zone, I believe.
Yeah, so it'll be 5 p.m. CET.
Yeah, I believe. So so we'll have a quick touch on this. So we'll just do a quick rundown of who do we think will actually win the whole thing. So in Division 4 playoffs, we have, of course, ILB Orange, MGSTKs, NG Saffron, and RC Pluto. So out of those 4 teams, who do you guys think will win the entire playoffs?
I'd say the final will be Relevant Esports Orange against RC Pluto, and I think I'm gonna say ILV Orange are gonna win. and I think the team that isn't going to make it will be MGS TKS.
All right, Dennis.
Well, I think that ROV Orange will get it to the final. Just like NG Saffron, because if I look at the league play result of week 5, NG Saffron actually clean swept RC Pluto. So yeah, they did very well in league play. So I think it's going to be ROV Orange against Saffron in the final. In the end, I think ROV Orange just keep on their keeping the winning streak, and in the end, just winning Division 4 in general. And NG Saffron is second, and RC Pluto in third. That's my prediction. So like the same prediction as in league play, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Faded, how about you?
All right, I think my prediction in the finals, I think we'll see LV Sports Orange. I'd say I'll go NG Saffron to go to the finals, and then the team that will not make it to will not promote or make it to promotion playoffs at all, I'll agree. I'll also say MGS TKs will be the ones bowing out. So that's that for Division 4, and now we'll just go on and predict Division 3 playoffs. Finally, it's the last thing we'll be doing. So the teams here, we have Ascension, Darklight Esports, Ascension Pyrrhos, and Team Nitro Omega. So, Wolf, we'll start with you once again for this.
In terms of who's going to make it from the semis, Ascension and Team Nitro Omega, I think that's what everyone will be predicting. To not make it, I will say it's going to be Darklight Esports. I have faith in the Kronos boys. And to auto-promote, I will say, See, I don't want to say I want to say Team Nitro Omega, but with how well I know everyone from Ascension, I think they will clutch it.
All
right, Dennis.
Yeah, I hope in the end we're gonna win, of course, the Division 3 playoffs. I think we're gonna win against Darklight Esports for certain, but then I think it's gonna be a really hard one to say either Ascension Kronos or Team Nitro Omega gonna win. But I think it's gonna be an all Ascension final. Ascension Kronos really is in force. I think they also beat Team Nitro Omega in league play. And yeah, they just showed they're a really good side. And the last few weeks, they could actually just. And in the final, I would still count us as the winners of Division 3 playoffs, and Ascension Kronos is second, and in the and third would be Team Nitro Omega beating Darklight Esports. So Darklight Esports making it in the relegation tournament, and Team Nitro Omega and Team Nitro Omega and Ascension Kronos will, and Ascension will get the auto promote, I would say.
All right.
That's fair.
All right, so
Faded.
For me, yeah, I will. I think I'll agree with you, Wolf, actually, on this. I think Ascension will end up winning the whole thing. Team Nitro Omega will also make it to the finals. And then the team that will not make it to the promotion playoffs will be Darklight Esports. I think that's what's going to happen in Div 3. And I think that's now us, finally, after 3 hours, done.
3 hours and 3 hours and like 20 minutes-ish.
Yeah, a little bit around that.
Yeah. And whoever gets their playoff predictions right wins a cookie.
All right, excellent.
So,
all right.
Whoever wins Div 2 or whoever gets the Div 2 predictions right gets a cookie.
Out of us 3, yeah.
Ooh.
You have to fight yourself though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, do you want to wrap it all up?
Yeah. So that's all we have for the ECC podcast. So thanks to everyone for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy it. And yeah, that really sets the scene for the playoffs. Of course, tomorrow we'll kick things off at, I believe, 5 p.m. CET for the Division 4 playoffs. And then on Sunday, we'll be having the Division 3 playoffs at that same time on that day. And so, yeah, we hope to see you guys for the first playoff match days for Season 5. We're coming close to the end of the season in the coming weeks. And so we'll see how things end off. So, yeah, thanks to everyone. And, of course, thanks to Dennis and Will for joining me once again on the podcast. And we will see you guys again tomorrow for the playoffs. Good night, guys.
See you tomorrow. Good night.